34-year-old cashier, Angela Mantha, is suing her mother, cabinet maker Storm Linnell, for filing false charges with Child Protective Services. Storm says Angela's fiancé is physically abusive.
Judges, is case number 352 on the calendar in the matter of Mantha versus Linnell. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks have seats, please.
Miss Mantha, this is your mom.
Yes.
And your complaint says that your mom filed false charges against you with Child Protective Services involving your daughter, who is how old?
6.
And you want to be compensated for your aggravation.
Yeah.
Your mother says she had legitimate concerns for your daughter's safety. Mm-hmm. And she had at some point been the caretaker for that child. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's why she called Child Protective Services to do an investigation. So I have to get some facts. Is this your only child?
No, I have a 9-month-old son also.
Who's the father of that child?
Jason.
This is Jason.
Yes.
Jason, you stand up there because I may have some questions for you. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Now, your daughter was born when you were 18.
Yes.
Where is her father?
He's incarcerated right now.
So that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
And when did your daughter go and live with your mother?
She was probably 14 or 15 months old. It was right after her first birthday.
What's her name?
Jasmine.
Why did Jasmine go and live with your mother?
At the time, I didn't have a stable place for her to stay. I was living with my boyfriend, who was an alcoholic, and he had friends in and out of the house all hours of the night. I didn't have my own job, so I couldn't take care of myself and support us on my own, and it wasn't a good place for my daughter to be.
Were you doing any drugs or alcohol?
I was drinking a lot.
Was the child removed from your custody by the state, or was this initially voluntary?
Voluntary.
Was the state ever involved in placement of your daughter with your mother? How long did Jasmine stay with your mother?
6 months.
And then the boyfriend went to jail? Or you left?
I just left. I moved out of there. I decided it was time for me to be a mother, and I moved back in with my mother and my daughter.
And how long did you stay?
6 or 7 months, maybe.
And
just long enough for me to get a job and get out on my own.
And your mother let you take your daughter?
Yes.
With no fight?
No fight.
So far, I got it. You were off track, came back home, you got on track, your mother was there for you. Mm-hmm. She was there for you to pick up the slack, taking on the responsibility of a toddler, took on you as a responsibility when you moved home. She saw that you had gotten it together, you moved out with your daughter, moved into your own place?
Yes.
No boyfriend?
At the time, no.
Then what happened?
I moved out for a while. I had actually moved in with a coworker of mine. And at that time, that was probably the first time that my mother had called CPS on me.
Why do you think she did that?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I don't really know.
Who was this coworker? Male?
Yes.
Maybe she didn't approve.
She knows who he is.
Is he a good person?
Yes, he is.
And how long did you live with?
Actually, probably about a month and a half.
And then where did you go?
Back to my mom's.
Because that didn't work out?
Right.
Went back to your mom's, and how long did you stay with your mother?
After that, probably 4 or 5 months, maybe.
Then where did you go?
Then I got my own place again.
How long did you have your own place?
I stayed there for 9 months.
Then what happened?
I moved out, and I moved in with my Aunt Becky, actually. And I stayed with her for probably about a month. That's when I met him, and we found our own place.
How long did you know Jason before you moved in with him?
A year and a half, maybe 2 years. I worked with him also.
What kind of work do you do, Jason?
Right now, I drive a garbage truck.
You have children?
Yes.
How many?
3.
Including the 9-month-old?
Mm-hmm.
Where are your other 2 children?
One is living in Bangor with his mother, and the other is in Tennessee.
Were you married to either of those 2 ladies?
My second child, I was married to her.
How old are you?
27.
So you're 27. You have 3 children. 2 of them you don't see.
One of them I see every weekend. During the summer, I see him every other week.
So only one of them you don't see?
Yes.
You support the other 2 children?
I pay child support every week.
For both of them?
Yes.
Okay. You would acknowledge to me, would you not, that you have not had a stable life thus far, is that right?
That's correct.
And that if your mother had concerns about you, they would be legitimate concerns based upon your history, right?
Yeah, yes.
Why did you call Child Protective Services the last time, and when was it? if you'd like to tell me.
Mid-September of this year.
Tell me why.
Well, there's been an ongoing situation with Jasmine saying that Jason has been mean to her.
Has she been more specific?
Just that he's been physically mean to her twice.
Well, she didn't use the word physically.
No, he grabbed her by the back neck and ran her into the bedroom one time.
You mean like this?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And once he had smacked her on the back of the head like this. That's how she explained it.
Okay.
You know, I was worried about that, but I tried talking to Jasmine. I said, you could talk to Mama about this. Let Mama know what's going on. She says, I do, but Mama gets mad at me if I tell her Jason's mean to me. And I says, well, I'll talk to Mama. Well, I tried talking to Mama about things that have been going on. Mama don't want to listen to me.
You mean those two things? Was there anything else?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
yes,
I'd like to know what else.
Well, I was taking my, you know, I have my granddaughter a lot, sometimes up to 4 times a week over weekends. On several occasions during the last few months, when she was time for her to go home, she hang right on to me. Please, Mammy, I don't want to go. I don't want to stay. Her mother literally had to peel her off of me to keep her in her home, as she said she was afraid of Jason. And then on an occasion in August, Angela had gone out with a bunch of her girlfriends, and one of them happened to be my future daughter-in-law. And Sharon,
your
my
future
daughter, she is my daughter-in-law now, had come to me and told me that on that occasion, when they were getting ready to leave, Jasmine clung onto my daughter, holding on to her, saying, Mom, please don't leave me with Jason. And they literally peeled her off of Angela, left her with Jason, and went out drinking anyways. Now, this has been an ongoing situation since Angela's been 17. She had her baby when she was 17, Your Honor. She turned 18 a month later. That left me responsible for...
Oh, I understand. So that's the reason that you called Child Protective Services. So, let me hear you.
History.
Your Honor, I talk to my daughter a lot. We have a good relationship together. She has never told me anything like that. She has not said anything about Jason. She's always talked good about him. She's here right now. I would love to have you talk to her if you would do that.
Mm-hmm. I will.
I would like you to.
Sure.
When Child Protective Services came and did their investigation, did they give you any sort of a report afterwards?
Yep. I have a closing statement and I have the assessment. I also have a copy of a random drug test that they give Jason at his work, just because she says we have excessive drug and alcohol use in the home.
Okay, just hold on to those things. I'm going to go and speak to Jasmine. Why don't you all have a seat for a couple of minutes?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You leave with her, you stay someplace else for a month, then you come back to your mother, then you leave your mother, then you go back to your aunt. So this child at age 6 has had absolutely zero stability. Fair statement?
No, Your Honor.
Of course it is.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Angela Mantha says her mother, Storm Linnell, filed false charges with Child Protective Services. Storm says she was worried about her granddaughter.
Jasmine really didn't want to talk to me. She's a little upset. I think she's upset because, you know, she's in a strange place and she knows that this is all about her. She probably knows that there's been a lot of friction because of, she views it because of things that she says.
She loves my mother. She really does.
Oh, well, there's no question in my
really
mind she loves her mother. Okay, so let's talk about objectively what we have. First, let me see the closing statement from Child Protective Services.
His drug test is in there, too. I don't know if you want that, but...
Okay. Do you think that your mother maliciously called Child Protective Services?
Yes, I do.
Tell me why you believe that your mother maliciously called Child Protective Services.
Because during the last fight that we had when we was all at my Aunt Becky's house, she told me right then and there that she was going to do anything in her power to get Jasmine. What that means, I don't know.
Well, in what context did she say that to you?
Well, we were fighting.
What were you fighting about?
What happened is when I come in, I was on the road all day. I had a lot of doctor's appointments and stuff, and I had my son with me, who was 9 months old. And I brought him in to feed him and change him. And I don't smoke around my son, and when I walked in, everybody put out their cigarettes. Well, I guess a guy that was there, Kevin, still had a cigarette going. I did not see him with a cigarette in his hand. And then my mother lit up a cigarette, so I just started packing the stuff up, and I was just going to leave. I didn't want to start anything. And she just
This was at your aunt's house?
This is at my Aunt Becky's house, yes. And that's when she started in. She's like, well, I don't know why you didn't say anything to Kevin about him smoking. And I was like, I didn't see him with a cigarette. I really didn't. If I had seen him, I would have said something to him.
Go ahead.
And that's when it all started, and we exchanged some words back and forth. She's talking about how I'm not a very good mom, and this and that, and she looked at me, she's like, I will get Jasmine, I will do anything to get her.
Well, that wasn't the first time that your mother has called Child Protective Services.
No. I've had Child Protective Services call them like 3 times. 2 for a fact I know it was my mother.
Any of them when you were living with Jasmine when she was a baby?
No. The first time is when I first moved back from Bingham. I think that my mother might have moved out and I was renting her place from her. Myself and my girlfriend Amanda and Jasmine were living there. That was the first time CPS was at my house. The second time is when I moved to Joe with my girlfriend Amanda and Jasmine. Mm-hmm. And that's
that lasted for a month before you moved out, if my memory is correct.
And he was only at my house once, and he left and he never come back. I don't know what happened to that.
I don't know either.
No.
I don't get the sense that your mother called maliciously.
No.
No. I mean, for the first 14 months, you were not living in a reasonable relationship because you were drinking. Father of the child was drinking.
No,
There isn't a question in my mind that during the initial period of her life, the child was neglected. Then she goes to stay with your mother. You come back and stay with your mother. Then you leave with her. Then you stay someplace else for a month, someplace else for 5 months. Then you come back to your mother. Then you leave your mother. Then you go back to your aunt. So this child at age 6 has absolutely zero stability. Fair statement?
No, Your Honor.
Of course it is. I mean, just look at it. I'm looking at it objectively. The child has had, in 6 years, no stability. She's had Joe, she's had Jason, she's had her father, she's had I don't know who else. She's had her mother, she's had her grandmother, she's had her aunt. At age 6, she's had no stability. So I'm telling you as an outsider that thus far as a mother, you have not been terrific.
That's fair.
Then you hook up with Jason, who is in his 20s, who already has had 2 major mistakes. One a marriage, one an out-of-wedlock child. And I don't know anything else about him. But I do know that there is cause for concern because your track record's not terrific.
To be honest, you know, I never said that I was a great mom when my daughter was a baby, because I wasn't. But for the past 3.5 years, I've provided a more than stable home. I've been working full-time, or well, part-time. I have a beautiful home, transportation. She's in school, she's healthy. She's in soccer and Girl Scouts. I do a lot with the school for her. My whole life revolves around her now.
No, well, it doesn't revolve around her. It revolves around her and a 9-month-old.
Well,
and his child who's there all the time.
Exactly.
According to you.
But I treat all the children the same. I don't give anybody special attention. That's a problem?
Yeah. In your daughter's eyes, that's a problem. If you treat everybody the same. It just is. That doesn't mean she's right. She's 6 years old. But she had her grandmother, who was her focus. Mm-hmm. You've taken that away from her. Because according to what I read, she doesn't see her grandmother anymore.
She hasn't for 2 months.
According to this. So that's true. So she hasn't seen her grandmother in 2 months, so you've taken that piece of stability away from her. Now, I'm not saying that she was Mother of the Year, because according to what I read, you had some problems yourself. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Series of relationships that went nowhere?
No, ma'am.
Well, according to your daughter, that's true, that your husband was killed?
Yes, sir.
And that after your husband,
13.
you had a series of relationships?
I've had 2.
That were in some way abusive and or alcoholic?
That's why he's gone.
Well, it doesn't make any difference.
Yes,
It was
you're
there with your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
When she was growing up, so she was involved with it. So what I'm saying to you is you have to understand that nothing is perfect. People do make mistakes.
That's right.
What I'm suggesting to you is the only focus for me right now is the 6-year-old who has one constant that's no longer in her life, taken away abruptly. She has to share her mother with a sibling, which is very often traumatic for a young child, even a young child who hasn't had the kind of history that your daughter has had. And she also shares that child with a pseudo-stepchild, because you're not married to him. So that's not a stepchild, but it's somebody that comes over periodically. Plus you work part-time, so you got a full plate. He doesn't sound like a terrible guy, but a self-acknowledged bad temper, right? Yeah. And he says he has a bad temper when he's helping the children out with their schoolwork and they don't seem to get what he's telling them, so he has a tendency to yell. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, I assume that your 9-month-old doesn't go to school.
Not yet.
So I assume that the child that you're referring to is Jasmine.
Mostly I was referring to my son.
Well, he's not with you Monday through Friday to help with his schoolwork.
Actually, Your
tried to
Honor,
help
sometimes he is.
Sometimes is not all the time. Jasmine lives there full time.
I was referring to my son. Jasmine, I tried.
It certainly doesn't say that here. So she's got a very full plate, your daughter. And I'm not going to get involved with whether or not it's a good idea or a bad idea for you not to let her continue to see her grandmother. I don't have enough information. Off the top of my head, I would say it's a tragic mistake for her. This is the one constant that she's had in her life, because you've had several different men. You've had her father, you've had Joe, you've had Tom, you've had Jason, you've had whoever in your life. And one constant she has is your maternal family. And if you cut them off, I think that that's a big mistake. But I see no malice in your mother's phone call. Go ahead.
May I say something? I haven't cut her off from my complete family. My grandmother had 14 children, and I'm very close with all of them.
Okay.
And if I could say one more thing else, my grandmother done this exact same thing to my mother and my Aunt Becky. And there was no reason then, and there's no reason now, is the way I look at it.
Well, as I said to you, I don't get the sense that there was a malicious intent on the part of your mother, and it's very possible that your daughter did say to her, I can't tell you, because then Mommy said, I can't see you anymore. That makes sense to me. That was in your mom's answer. I can't tell you what's going on because Mom says I can't see you anymore. And I can hear that conversation. You know, if you're going to talk to Grandma about what goes on in the house, I'm not going to let you see her anymore.
I would never say that.
It's sort of interesting for her to at least attribute that to the child, whether you said it or whether you didn't. It's not a good idea for you to inquire about what's going on in the house. That puts your granddaughter, if you do, in a very difficult situation. In any event, I assume that you will work out whether or not you see your granddaughter between the two of you. As I said, I think it's probably not in your daughter's best interest not to see her grandmother, but I see nothing malicious about the phone call to Child Protective Services.
She has been malicious as far as to the people in my community. I live in a small town. I grew up in that town, and that whole town thinks nothing but bad about me and Jason now. She's told people that Jason's molested Jasmine.
I have never, ever accused him of molestation.
That should be on,
I have
on
never.
that report.
They asked me if I thought that might be the case, and I said, I don't really know. That's something I can't say because that's nothing that was
she's a
brought
6-year-old
up.
child who has a yeast infection, according to the reports. And for somebody who may not be schooled, they may not know how you develop a yeast infection, but certainly sexually transmitted disease is one possibility.
Your Honor, my doctor told me that yeast infections are caused in little girls by sitting in a soapy bathtub.
That's possible.
It is very possible.
No, it's possible, but I will tell you now that for a 6-year-old to have a yeast infection who does not have a history of taking antibiotics, which sometimes causes that for a long period of time, might be problematic for a grandmother. She says she's never made those statements. I have nobody here to counter that, but I see nothing in the history of this case that suggests to me that she made any calls maliciously. So your case is dismissed.
Yeah, this is case number 343 on the calendar in the matter of Krill versus Krill. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Jennifer, this is your stepmom.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are no longer married to her father, is that right? You are
Yes,
now
ma'am.
divorced. How long were you married to Jennifer's father?
18 years.
Jennifer, you came back to live with your stepmom. You have a child?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is your child?
She's 3.
So you came back to live with your mom when you were 16?
Yes.
With the baby?
Yes.
Where had you been living?
In El Paso, Texas with my real mom.
And that didn't work out, so you came back to
Live with
your
her, correct.
stepmom. Your complaint is that your stepmother has a car that belongs to you.
Correct.
And she says she does not, it is her car. I gather there was a time when you were 16 or 17 that your stepmother gave you her car to drive, and you totaled it.
Right.
And then what did you do?
What do you mean?
Well, you got some money, according to your complaint. You asked your biological mother for some money.
Oh, yes.
And she sent you some money, and you put it in the bank.
Right.
And you and your stepmother went out shopping for a
Right.
car, according to you, purchased this car, which your
Right.
stepmother put in her name.
Right.
That's the car we're looking to retrieve.
Right.
So, when you went to buy the car, you were 17?
Right.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what kind of discussion did you have with your stepmother about the car?
We really didn't have a discussion. I mean, she told me that we were going to buy me a car because she didn't have any money to afford to replace the other one. And then she did the transaction. I handed her the $800, in front of the man that we bought it from, and then I walked away. She never consulted me about putting her name on the title. She just, I guess, put her name on it. So, I mean, I have the bill of sales. I have a bank statement from that day.
Okay, no, there's no question. The money came from your stepdaughter.
Yeah, but she's not telling the story right.
Okay, so I'm listening to you.
She never gave me the $800. She went and took care of that. Jennifer also took care of all the title work and registration, and she's the one that put my name on that title.
No, I did not.
I never went to the license bureau to do that. She took care of all of that.
Why would she put your name on the title? Maybe because she was a minor?
No, I don't think it had anything to do with that. I think she totaled my car in early May. The Neon was bought probably 3 weeks after that.
Ms. Krill, she has received a gift from her biological mother for the purpose of purchasing a car.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think this car belongs to you?
Because we discussed it. It was supposed to be, she's the one that took care of the paperwork. If she really believed that it was her car, why did she put my name on the title?
Now just a second, that's not my question. Why do you believe it's your car? Don't tell me what's going through Jennifer's mind.
I never said it belonged to me. I said it belonged to us.
Well,
and
then
it
how
was
do you
discussed
expect
that she was replacing the Cougar that she totaled.
Her mother didn't send her money to replace your car.
No, ma'am, she did not.
Right. Her mother sent her money to buy a car for herself so she would have a car. She's 17 years old. Sometimes teenagers have problems. But you have other children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When your child is 15, 16, 17 years old and they have an accident with the car, it's just part of parenting. They don't replace it.
I didn't ask her to replace the car, though. The car was put in both of our names for it to be our car so we could share it.
You can't share an $800 car. And she's not living with you anymore. So what do you want to do?
We live a mile from each other.
You can't share the car. It's impossible. Who has the title?
I do.
Can I see
I
it,
have the
please?
receipt to the title.
You don't have the title. You have a receipt. I want to see the title.
Okay.
Okay. Have her sign. Okay. Right over there, Ms. Krill. That's going to take care of the car. Sign it. Okay. Bird, would you give it over to the plaintiff, please? All right, that takes care of that. Now, I'm going to take care of all this property stuff. What kind of property do you claim that you have at your stepmother's house, and why did you leave it there?
Well, I have a couch that my aunt gave me. I have a bed that my grandmother gave me, a radio flyer, a radio tricycle. I have all my shoes.
That's for the baby?
Right. Those are her toys, and amongst several other toys that she has there. And
Well,
the reason why it
why didn't you
stayed,
take those things when you left?
because I was sent to Texas. I mean, I couldn't pack everything.
What do you
on
mean
the
you were
plane.
sent to Texas? When were you sent to Texas?
I was sent there July 11th because they said that I couldn't live in their house anymore. So.
You mean your stepmom said you couldn't live there anymore?
Right. Well,
Why? What were you doing?
She told me that I had to go to Texas. I had to face my past and stand up to my real mother. I mean, I didn't understand why she was sending me. I still don't understand why she sent me.
She's going to tell me why she sent you. There had to be something that you're not understanding, but that I have a feeling I'm going to understand. Go ahead.
She was sent back to Texas at that time because I was on medical leave and because she was getting into some trouble that I couldn't handle. I told her to go back to Texas to deal with things that were going on, to step up because she needs to be a mother.
To her child?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a mother to my child. I think I am a very good mother to my child. I've never hurt her. I mean, I don't understand why she's saying that.
Well, let me ask you this question. You've never hurt her?
No.
Do you think that you surround her with the appropriate people all the time?
Yes, I do.
Just think about my question very carefully. Where's her father?
He is in Texas. He's no longer in my child's life, nor has he never been.
Does he pay support for her?
No, he doesn't.
Why not?
He just doesn't. He's in prison.
Well, that's a reason. That's a reason for him not to pay support is because he's in jail. What is he in jail for?
Statutory rape.
Of?
Me.
Of you. Is that one of the reasons you didn't get along with your biological mother?
Yes, it was.
Did they pursue that against him?
Yes, ma'am, they did.
Okay. Your stepmother says that you were getting into some difficulty with your daughter, that she found her in a circumstance that she wasn't happy with. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any truth to that?
No, I don't understand. I don't know what circumstance you'll be talking about because...
Well, maybe she'll tell me. Go ahead.
She was dating boys that had no business being around the grandbaby. I actually had to extract her from the home of one twice within a month's period.
What was wrong with them?
He beat on the baby, for one.
How do you know that?
He left marks on her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Yes, he was one of my boyfriends
She admitted that he hit her.
because she had an accident in her pants. I didn't agree with it. I didn't say, oh, well, that's okay.
So when I asked you whether your daughter was around inappropriate people, the answer was yes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Jennifer Krill says her stepmother, Kim Krill, won't return her vehicle. Kim says Jennifer should think of it as compensation for wrecking her car.
Did you ask Jennifer about the marks?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She admitted that he hit her.
Is that right?
What happened was, from another instance, that when I was in Texas, yes, he was one of my boyfriends. I came to live with him. I mean, he was nice until, like, he told me to get out of his house. And then the reason why he hit her was because she had an accident in her pants. I didn't agree with it. I didn't say, oh, well, that's okay. I got my stuff, I packed my bags, and then I called my real mother in Texas, and that's when she came and got me.
Jennifer, so when I asked you whether your daughter was around inappropriate people, the answer was yes.
Oh, I didn't think that she was stating that. I thought, excuse me, she was stating of my stay right now. And how
I'm talking
staying
about
right now.
then. I want to know why you were sent back to Texas.
I was
The
on a-
stepmother is on...
In December,
No, in July.
she's been sent back twice.
Okay.
That's why I
Well,
was
anyway,
talking
that's when you were sent back the last time. It was in July.
Right.
And you didn't take all of your stuff because you thought you were coming back.
Right.
Do you have her couch?
Yeah.
You have her bed?
Yeah. I would like to say, though, that when she arrived back in Hobart, she called and said she was coming to get her stuff, and she did come and get a lot of stuff. It was her choice that she did not come back and get it. I never denied her that stuff.
Okay.
She didn't.
Do you
but-
want... It's going to be easy.
Okay.
What stuff do you want now?
Mainly, I want my car, and I do want my couch and my bed, but I don't have.
Well, listen, Jennifer, you can't have it both ways. If you want your couch and your bed and the baby's toys, make arrangements to pick that up in 5 days. Fine. It'll be put out. It'll be waiting for you. You'll get a storage space. Fine. But she's not going to act as a storage facility for you until you decide what you want to do. The car you now have. Do you understand?
Okay.
Car is yours.
Okay.
You have it. You want to forget about the rest of the stuff?
No.
Well, do you want it?
Yes, I do.
She's asking to take stuff that was the grandbaby's that I actually bought her, and the grandbaby still comes to my house.
Does?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're talking about the tricycle?
That was bought for her birthday and for Christmas.
Okay. I'm glad that she still comes to the house.
I adore my grandbaby.
How often does she come to the house?
I haven't really got to see her a lot lately, maybe once a week.
Where are you living now?
I live with my friends in Hobart, Indiana.
What friends?
Eric, Willie, and Jay.
You live in a house with 3 men?
Yes, I do.
What do they do for a living?
They put up billboards.
What do you do?
I stay home. I don't work right now.
What are you going to do with the couch and the bed?
I'm gonna get a storage room until I can rent my own apartment to put it in.
You still are getting along reasonably well with your stepmother?
I would say so.
I like that. That's very smart. Your daughter needs that.
I know that. That's
A
why I
lot.
allow her to see her.
A lot. So I have a sense, and I'm going to ask her, she's not quite ready for the couch and the bed right now. Any chance of you holding on to it?
I told her before that she was more than welcome to keep her stuff there until she could find a room.
Fine. Then we have no problem with that. And we've resolved the car. Continue to be smart, Jennifer. Continue to let her be a part of that baby's life, because I have a sense that that is going to be one of the stable things in your daughter's life, at least for a while.
I understand that.
Okay, very good. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's not stepping up to her responsibilities and doing what she's supposed to do.
I would like to make amends with her.
Just to be a good mom to her daughter, that's all I want her to do.
If she would like.
All parties in the matter of Augusto versus Grady. Step forward.
21-year-old Tiffany Augusto is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Robert Grady, for vet bills incurred after 2 of his dogs had a fight.
Miss Augusto, Mr. Grady was your boyfriend. He's got a lot of dogs. His dogs fight. And according to your complaint, you extended a loan to him in order to pay for one of the dogs when the dog was injured. You want him to repay this bill.
Yes.
Mr. Grady says that it was not a loan, It was a gift. You wanted to do it for him. He was perfectly prepared when the dog was injured to have the dog killed, right?
Yeah, I was going to have it put down.
Put down is a nice word. Killed is the word.
Well, yeah,
You mean
I was
killed,
going to have the
right?
dog killed, yeah.
You mean killed. Your choice was to either take care of the dog and have this animal that was your pet, right?
Yes, correct.
Fixed by a doctor. And you would have chosen, because of the cost, to kill it.
Yes.
Okay. You are clearly an animal lover, sir.
Yeah. I have
How many do you have?
Well, right now I have 4 dogs.
How many did you have when you were together?
5.
Tell me what kind of dogs you have.
Pit bulls, and the one that was hurt is a Rottweiler German Shepherd mix.
Did the pit bulls all come from the same litter?
No, they didn't. The pit bulls I acquired from different people. The pit bull that did the attacking was a pit bull I saved off the street. I found him walking down the street. He was almost dead, bleeding. Took him in, took care of him. He got along with the rest of the dogs. One day I got a call that the dogs got into a fight, and I went home, checked on it. The dog was pretty injured bad. We took him to the vet.
Which dog? Which one?
The Rottweiler.
How old was the Rottweiler?
About 4 at the time.
You don't do anything bad with these dogs, like have them fight, do you? They're
No.
just your pets.
Yeah, they're family pets.
Family pets. And you care for them?
Yes.
Then why, sir, when one of your members of your family was injured, why would you even contemplate killing it?
Well, I had no money to save its life. So it was the only other road. I can't go home with the dog with its jaw half ripped off.
Well, let me ask you this question, Mr. Grady. Were you working?
No.
How were you
I was
supported?
at home at the time.
Living at home with whom?
With my mother.
How old are you?
23.
How did you support yourself? How does he support himself? How does he support himself?
His mother.
What else?
At that time, it was me.
While you were together, was Mr. Grady ever arrested for any illegal activity?
Yes.
For what? Look at me.
I was never really told why. He would lie to me most of the time.
Right.
What were you arrested for, Mr. Grady?
I was arrested. I had a drug possession charge.
Right. Pit bulls and drug possession charge. Mr. Grady, do you really think that they keep me here because I'm young and gorgeous?
No,
Mr.
ma'am.
Grady, that was the wrong answer, Mr. Grady. You see, either way, you're in trouble. No, ma'am, would be the wrong answer. Yes, ma'am, would be also the wrong answer. What are you working at now, Mr. Grady?
Nowhere.
You're not working now either?
No.
So it's been a long time for you not to be working, Mr. Grady.
Yep.
How many times have you been arrested for drug possession, Mr. Grady?
Twice.
What's the status of those cases, sir?
Oh, they're all done now. Got the fines paid and let go. They're minor
Who
misdemeanors.
paid your fines?
Well, I paid the fines.
From what?
I do a little work on the side here and there with a couple buddies.
What? Well, that's what I want to know, Mr. Grady.
All right.
What do you do on the side, sir?
Well, my friend has a delivery company that he subcontracts.
What does he deliver?
Electronics from like a Best Buy store. I'd come in there a couple days out of the week, and he would pay me. So that's how I got my fines paid.
You think I should believe him?
The drug possession charges has nothing to do with the dog case.
Yes, it does. It has something to do with the dog case for me, sir. Because if you have money, any money, if you can collect cans, if you can babysit, if you can do anything at age 23, I wouldn't put down and kill a member of my family.
Your Honor, may I speak?
Yes.
Sorry. At that time, that was never spoken to me, that option. We never...
I'm going to get to it.
Okay.
That's always been her problem. She don't know when to shut up.
Neither do I.
Well, neither do I. That's kind of why we conflicted so much.
Listen, I don't care about your conflicting with each other. You want to discuss your conflicting? You take it to Dr. Phil. Here we're going to talk about whether or not you had an option when you went to the vet with your Rottweiler that one of your pit bulls attacked, or more than one of your pit bulls attacked, whether you had an option of saying kill it or heal it, whether you exercised that option, she says you did not, and whether the right thing for you to do would be say, listen, instead of working 2 days a week for my friend who's in the delivery service business, I'll work 5 days a week to take care of my responsibility. You get me?
Yeah, I get you.
How much was the bill?
The total on the account is $1,896.57 because we had to take the other dog in also.
Which other dog?
The other dog that was in the fight.
So there were 2 dogs.
Yes, there's 2 dogs that fought. The Rottweiler attacked the pit bull. Usually, they never attacked each other. They always got along. After that, they had to be separated at all times.
By the way, Mr. Grady, you had 5 dogs at the time you and Miss Augusto were together. You say you had 4. Who's gone?
The pit bull that did the attacking.
And where is that dog now?
He was killed.
When?
About 2 months ago.
Why?
He wasn't getting along with none of my dogs. I couldn't restrain him from getting to the other dogs. I mean, he would basically break down doors to get to the dogs. I had no other option.
He was vicious.
Yes, he
This
started.
wasn't the street.
Yes.
This is the one you rescued off the street.
Yes.
Now, did he pay anything towards this bill?
No.
After you broke up, which was when?
January of '06.
Did you ask him about this bill?
I asked him before that.
And what did he tell you?
I always got promises of payment next week, this weekend. I'm starting to work. I'll give you money steadily soon.
And?
I never got anything.
Go.
She never asked me for no money the whole time we was together. We break up. It was probably about 2 months ago. I started getting phone calls. My mom started getting phone calls. She needs the bills paid. There was never no promise in the beginning to pay nothing back. She loved the dog as much as I did, so she didn't want to see the dog put down as much as I didn't want to see the dog put down. Well, killed.
How many children does your mother have?
I'm one of 7.
Is your mother a working lady?
No.
How did she support 7 children?
Well, she's a widow. She gets checks from my father passing away, Social Security, stuff like that.
So that
checks.
must have been tough, raising 7 children on Social Security and survivor's benefits.
Yes.
Say that's right?
Yes.
Are you in the middle, the beginning, or the end? Are you the youngest, oldest, or in the middle?
The oldest.
And how old is the youngest?
11.
How would you feel about your mother if she said, you know, all the children need things. I really don't have enough to take care of the youngest one?
Well, I do what I got to do.
Which is what?
Anything that needs to be done.
The youngest one is 11-year-old boy or girl?
Girl.
Girl. You wouldn't suggest we put her down, would you?
No.
You would do anything that was necessary to make sure that she got what she needed.
Yeah.
Yes is the answer.
Yes.
Because that's the responsible thing to do.
Yes.
You don't take a living creature into your home, whether it's a human being or a dog, and love it and give it attention, and then say, well, it's too much trouble for me. You know, I don't have enough to go around. This one's expendable.
Well, there's
you
not
don't
really
do
much.
that. What you may have done is responsible with regard to the pit bull, because if the pit bull was an aggressive, hostile dog that had bitten and attacked other dogs, clearly could do that to a person if this dog hadn't done that already. Perhaps under that extreme circumstance, you have to contemplate that. But with regard to an animal that was attacked by a dog that you brought into the house, you do whatever is necessary to make sure that that dog is taken care of. Period. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $18.96. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Stuff just don't work out when there's so much lying going on between.
Lots of lies.
She was out doing what she wasn't supposed to be doing. People would tell me she was here when she was supposed to be there.
When he was supposed to be in New York, he wasn't.
She knows that she was the one doing the cheating. She was out at the nightclub. She was out here. She was out there when she was really supposed to be at home.
All parties in the matter of Tennant versus Holly. Step forward.
Carolyn Tennant is suing her son's friend, 22-year-old Jeffrey Holly, for stealing her golf cart and damaging it while driving drunk.
Miss Tennant, this young man was a friend of your son's?
Yes, ma'am.
You all went camping together?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a golf cart that sort of takes you to and from, I guess,
Yeah.
a lake or shopping or whatever.
Well, it's like the major mode of transportation out there.
And other people have golf carts.
Yes.
Mr. Holly took your golf cart without your permission.
Correct.
And he was drunk.
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And he had an accident.
Yes.
Your golf cart was damaged.
Correct.
And the golf cart of the other people was damaged.
Yes, ma'am.
The other people sued you as the golf cart owner.
Yes.
Successfully.
Yes.
And do you believe that Mr. Holly has the responsibility of compensating you for both that judgment
Yes.
and the damage to your golf cart?
Correct.
Mr. Holly says that it wasn't his fault,
Yes, ma'am.
and he should have been able to go to court and prove that, and since he didn't have that opportunity because you proceeded without him, he's not responsible. Did I identify your position, Mr. Holly?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
I have to find out a little bit about you, sir. Age.
Age 22.
Occupation.
Basement waterproofing and foundation wall rebuilds.
Number of times arrested.
Since I turned 18, 3 times.
For what?
Disorderly conduct, a malicious assault, and unauthorized use of heavy equipment.
Were you drinking during any one of those 3 arrests?
Yes, ma'am, the disorderly conduct.
Now, have you ever had convictions for any of those things?
Yes, ma'am.
Ever go to jail?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
I did 1 week and then I got out on a signature bond.
Are those cases over?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Holly, you and booze don't get along, sir.
Yes, I agree, ma'am.
Do you want to tell me what happened with Miss Tennant's golf cart?
Yes, ma'am, I do. That night, it was Memorial Weekend, you know, and there was a bunch of us out there together, and, you know, everybody being of age recently, we all decided, you know, we were going to get drunk and have a good time. They have dances at the bar and whatnot.
You know that you don't have a good time when you get drunk.
Yeah, I'm starting to
You
realize
really
that,
understand
ma'am.
that. You know, most of the time you don't remember. Most of the time you act stupid. Most of the time you get sick afterwards. You really have a much better time if you're sober. That doesn't mean you can't drink. That just means that you have a better time if you're not drunk. Right.
Yes, ma'am.
But you got drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And?
And I decided to take the golf cart keys from the top of the fridge. Because, I mean, I figured, you know, there was people driving it all day and most of the night. I figured, why not? You know, I mean, we were just going to go around the block and come right back. There was another golf cart passing filled with some people that lived down at the next camper down. And I thought they were going to stop, and I guess they thought I was going to stop, and it didn't work out that way.
So?
So I ran into the side of them. They proceeded to get off the golf cart and just completely make an enormous deal of it. I mean, they're golf carts. They don't go over 10 miles an hour.
No, they go faster than that.
And during all this, I mean, everything started getting out of control. People were yelling at each other. One of the ladies on the golf cart, her fiance decided to sucker punch me. Then I was held from defending myself once I found out in that township I could legally defend myself once somebody put their hands on me. I was held from defending myself. And I mean, why couldn't I get any, you know, closure on that? Because I did make a police report on it, and I figured
You
not
wanted closure. Tell me how you wanted to get...
We're going to make a deal. My brother was going to give the guy $1,500 for his golf cart.
No. I'm talking about you wanted to get closure from being sucker punched, you said.
Yeah, either a chance to defend myself at that moment in time
to
or...
punch him? You wanted to punch him back.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were prohibited from doing that. How, sir?
Because Alan Reining grabbed me and basically pushed me backwards and bear hugged me and wouldn't let me.
Wouldn't let you punch him back.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would have given you closure.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been watching too many psychological programs that seem to be proliferating in daytime television, sir. Not everything gives you closure. You usually refer to the fact that you want closure when somebody in your family dies. You go and visit them and you say, now I have closure. You know, I've seen them, I've said goodbye. Closure is not usually a thing that one refers to, punching somebody back. That doesn't give you closure. Mr. Holly, you're a very polite young man. Do I make you nervous?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that why you're sweating?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Did it make you nervous when you appeared before the other judges?
Not really.
But I scare you.
Yes, ma'am.
That is a really, really good thing. I've not had a particularly good day today. That is the only thing that's made my day today. The fact that I make you nervous enough to sweat. You owe Mrs. Tennant money. You owe her the money that she spent or will spend to fix her golf cart. And you owe her the judgment that was entered against her for the accident you had when you took her golf cart without permission. Because if you go back, Mr. Holly, these are the objective facts. I'm not going to really scream and yell at you because you've been so polite. I'm going to say it easily so you can get my drift. A, you were drunk. You should never have gotten behind the wheel of any instrument that was moving because you weren't exercising good judgment. B, you got behind the wheel of it without permission. So, in effect, you stole it. You had an accident. You're responsible to reimburse her for any out-of-pocket expenses that she had. And her out-of-pocket expenses were?
$1,782.50.
$1,782.
And 50 cents.
And 50 cents. That's your liability, Mr. Holly. That's your legal responsibility. And if you don't want to incur that kind of obligation, you're not supposed to get drunk and act stupid so that you really don't know what's going on. You're not supposed to take people's property without permission. You're not supposed to get behind something that goes even 10 miles an hour when you're drunk. All of those things you did. Just say, it's going to make you feel better and you're going to stop sweating. It's my fault.
Really,
it's my fault. I was drunk. I took your property. I caused you aggravation. I'm sorry, I will make you whole. And if you can't do that, Mr. Holly, I will. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,782.50. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Why does our excuse when they step out?
Oh, I think that she just did a wonderful job.
I mean, I'm a little, upset about it.
Used poor judgment in not trying to pay me back.
I do have an alcohol problem. I can admit to that.
And somebody that's not responsible is not welcome.
I have land all over the place I can go.
No, he is no longer welcome back. No.
I make $15 an hour. I mean, I'll pay it, have it done out the way, and I can take my...
Mr. Wood, that the defendants falsely reported that you were burglarizing their home, causing you to be arrested. You spent money on attorneys, and you want to be compensated for their false reporting of this burglary. Miss Golden and her brother say that you actually were in their home, which is a burglary. They say that you retaliated by calling Child Protective Services and claiming that the two of them were using drugs in front of their children, in front of your children. Right. And in addition, Ms. Golden is counterclaiming because she said because of your action, she was fired from her job. She wants to be compensated for her lost wages. When did this unholy alliance begin?
June 2004.
Did you live together?
No.
Ever?
No.
Did you ever stay over?
Occasionally.
How many times a week, Mr. Wood?
Once, maybe twice.
Did you have a key?
At one time, yes.
Would you occasionally go over to the house and answer my question? I don't want you to think of where I'm going, Mr. Wood. All I want you to do is try to tell me the truth.
Okay.
The truth will set you free.
Okay.
Did you ever go over to the house and wait for her to come home?
Yes.
Went into the house by yourself?
Yes.
That happened frequently?
No.
In the course of the year and a half that you were together, did it happen 10 times?
No.
It happened 5 times?
Maybe, yes.
When you went over there and neither she nor her brother were there, prior to February of 2006, did anybody report that you were in the house without permission?
No.
Did you ever take anything that you weren't supposed to?
No, I did not.
Tell me what happened on February 17th, 2006.
It was about 7 o'clock in the evening, 7:15. I was in Binghamton, and I got a call from Mindy stating that her brother had caught me in the trailer. And she said that I didn't have any business being in there because we had broken up the previous week again.
It was longer.
Shh, shh. And what did you say to her?
What's going on? Why are you doing this? I'm in Binghamton. I haven't been in Windsor for over an hour. Why are you doing this? And she said, you were there. I'm going to see you in jail. I'm calling the troopers, and slammed the phone down.
Okay. Miss Golden, were you at home?
No, I was at work.
Your brother was at home?
Yes.
Your first name, sir?
Kevin.
Do you remember what day of the week the 17th of February was?
Remember the day? No, I don't.
Do you?
Yes, Tuesday.
Do you remember what time she called you?
7:45.
In the evening?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Golden. I want you to tell me what happened on the 17th of February.
I went out to eat.
No, look at me.
Oh, I went out to eat with my girlfriend. Came home from dinner. Proceeded to enter in the door. And when I bumped into Ray coming out as I was coming in.
He was coming out?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you say to him, and what did he say to you?
Just nothing. We were just both like, yeah. And I heard a hissing noise. And that was the propane. So I went to investigate that, and I turned around. By the time I fixed that, he was gone.
What was wrong with the propane?
It was unhooked from the tank. Hooks up to the trailer for heat and cooking.
And it's outside?
Outside, correct.
Now, when you went inside, what did you see?
Nothing really. It was dark.
No, inside the trailer, sir.
Oh, what did I see? Nothing really. He was coming out as I was going in.
Anything missing?
No, not to my knowledge, no.
Anything vandalized?
No.
The only thing unusual that you found was outside the trailer?
Correct.
Mr. Golden, I'm unclear, sir. Was Mr. Wood inside the house or outside the house?
Inside the house, ma'am.
Inside?
Yes.
Is there a key that you used to get inside the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you think Mr. Wood got inside the house?
Had his own key.
Did you have a key to the house?
No, I gave it back to Mindy.
I had asked for it back, and it took him a week to give it back to me.
So you got it back?
Yes, I did.
When, Mr. Wood, did you call Child Protective Services on the Goldens?
I didn't hear from the troopers for a week to 10 days on the charge. And so as soon as I left the troopers.
So you filed the charges with Child Protective Services after these charges were filed against you?
Yes.
No.
No?
No. I have
Really?
copies of the
That
reports
would- you see,
that he was arrested February 17th against me and my brother.
After He was arrested. You have to stop trying to figure out where I'm going, madam. You're not that clever. When did you stop being involved in a relationship, Mr. Wood?
February 7th.
Had you been back to the house since February 7th?
No.
So all the information that you had on February 17th when you filed the charges with Child Protective Services, you had on the 7th when you left. Is
Yes.
that right? And I assume you filed the report with Child Protective Services, Mr. Wood, because you were concerned about the child.
Yes.
And you filed those charges indicating that there was drug use in the home.
Yes, I did.
Now, what were you doing between February 7th when you broke up and February 17th?
As far as what? I don't
I
understand.
want to know if you were incapacitated.
Oh, no.
I want to know if you were hospitalized.
No.
So you want to tell me, sir, why you waited from February 7th to February 17th to report to Child Protective Services something that you must have felt very strongly about this drug use in front of a child, right?
Right.
So explain to me why you waited 10 days.
I thought maybe it would change.
So what told you that it wasn't going to change when they filed these burglary charges against you? Is that what you're telling me?
No.
You mean it was just a coincidence?
I thought maybe.
You mean it was just a coincidence?
Yes.
That the charges were filed on the same day with Child Protective Services as the charges for burglary were filed against you?
Yes.
That's a coincidence, sir, that I find very hard to swallow. Because if someone is legitimately concerned about the welfare of a child, how old is your child?
He's 3 now. He was 2.
About a 3-year-old child that has no voice, then I assume that this drug use has been going on for a long time, right?
Yes.
That you would have reported it immediately, right?
Right.
You chose to wait serendipitously on the same day as you were arrested for burglary to report it to Child Protective Services.
Yes.
That would be unfortunate.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you ever smoke marijuana in front of your child?
No, ma'am.
Did your brother?
Not to my knowledge.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ray Wood claims ex-girlfriend Mindy Golden had him falsely arrested for burglary. Mindy is countersuing, claiming Ray made false allegations to Child Protective Services.
Now, let us move on to your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Go.
He had filed another report against myself and my daughter's father. So 2 separate reports to Child
What were you
Protective.
doing with your daughter's father?
Nothing. He doesn't even know my daughter's father.
Well, what did he allege you were doing?
The same thing.
Did you ever smoke marijuana in front of your child?
No, ma'am.
Did your brother?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, you would know that, right?
I would hope so.
Let's get to the counterclaim.
Honestly, I just want him to leave me alone. And I wouldn't have filed the counterclaim if he hadn't done this.
Okay, so you're going to withdraw the counterclaim because you want me to deal with his claim of false arrest?
Please.
Mr. Wood, I believe you were there. How about that?
I wasn't there.
I believe you were. I don't see any other reason, sir. I understand that the grand jury refused to indict you, probably because you really didn't do anything while you were there except maybe pull apart the propane so that they would run out of gas. That's what you necessarily believe, that he saw you inside the house, but I believe that he saw you there. I don't know what you were angry at, but I believe that he saw you there. And I believe that you retaliated, and you retaliated by filing charges against both of them for drug use. I believe that that's an inappropriate way to conduct yourself if you were legitimately concerned about the welfare of an infant. And what you do is you report those concerns immediately to Protective Services, and you don't wait until you have an axe to grind to do it. That's not what Child Protective Services is there for. So I believe that you were there on the 17th of February. I don't think that you were there to burglarize the house. And by the way, Miss Golden, you want him to leave you alone? He better leave you alone. Did you file for a protective order?
Yes, I did. And
Do you have one?
I did. It ran out, but he was leaving me alone, so I didn't renew it.
How long did you have it for?
6 months.
So now he's leaving you alone?
Yes.
Perfect. Let it remain that way. The lawsuit's dismissed, sir. You were there on the 17th of February. I believe you were there. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Came to my work and wrote things on the wall about me in the men's bathroom.
She smokes marijuana. They're really heavy into drugs, and I'm not.
Calling repeatedly.
Me?
Sometimes she'd call and hang up the phone.
Not me.
Yes, she has at my work and at my home.
She was upset.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pittman Page versus Pittman, step forward.
Deborah Pittman Page is suing her nephew, 21-year-old Chad Pittman,
for a loan to get his car insured, and for the cost to get the vehicle out of impound.
Miss Page, did you ever hear the saying, no good deed goes unpunished?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
This is your nephew?
Yes, it is.
According to your complaint, he fell on some hard times.
Correct.
And you offered to advance him the money to pay his car insurance.
Correct.
And he was supposed to pay you back.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you pay his insurance?
April 11th of 2006.
And how was he supposed to make the payments to you?
He was just starting a new job, and so he thought he could go ahead and pay me then. So he was living at home with his father and his stepmom.
Is that your brother?
Yes. So they had said that he had to have a registered and insured vehicle in order to move back in home. And so that's why we did this. And I paid the insurance company. I wrote a check for $1,432, and then he gave me $432 that he had. That way he was able to get registered and insured, and he moved back in.
And how many payments did he make?
Well, he paid the $432 initially, and then he paid another $100, and then about 6 months later he paid me $60.
Okay, young man, now tell me what happened.
What happened was...
Don't listen. Don't look down.
What happened was on the 12th of April, she did write a check. I did give her the $480.
We're past that. She
Okay.
wrote the check. You gave her $432, leaving a $1,000 balance. You paid her another $160 over a period of time.
No.
You didn't pay her anything.
I gave her more than $160.
Okay, how much did you give her, sir?
I brought the payment down to $840, which means I paid her...
$160.
$160, okay. So I was wrong. I got arrested.
No. Look here.
I got arrested.
When?
I got arrested on November 7th.
So between April 12th and November 7th, you gave her a total of $160.
Correct.
Why
But
is that?
in between times, I didn't have a job. I told her that I'll give you the money, but I also have to support myself at the same time. So I wasn't always able to give her as much as she had expected.
Well, how about anything?
Oh, I would give her something.
No, you didn't. You gave her $160. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, in 7 months.
In 7 months.
7 months, if you get $5 a week, which, look at me, mister, look at me. It means going one less time to McDonald's, sir. It means getting one less Frosty Freeze. Mr. Pittman, on the 7th of November, you got arrested for what and where?
I got arrested in Amesbury, Massachusetts for possession of a firearm, a Class D substance.
What was the substance?
Weed.
Marijuana?
Yes. With the FID numbers filed off, and...
The FID numbers filed off the marijuana or the firearm?
No, the firearm. And then I was brought into Middleton.
You were stopped in your car?
Yeah.
The car that your aunt had insured?
Yes. And then it was impounded.
It was?
Oh, yeah, it was. It got impounded. She went to the impound.
Just a second. How did she find out that your car was impounded?
Because my dad had found out that I was arrested. She found out. She wanted the car to take out, get the license plates off, turn them in, collect the past due, not the past due, but the amount
the
for
balance of the
cancellation.
insurance.
Exactly.
So that she would at least have some money back.
Right. But she also wanted me to pay the $210. She also has my...
$210 for what?
For getting the car out of the impound.
Didn't you want the car anymore?
It didn't matter to me either way. I was going to be in Middleton for more than a year, so...
Listen to me. So at that point, it didn't matter to you that the car was an impound. What kind of car is this?
96 Ford Contour.
So you didn't care whether the car was an impound. As far as you were concerned, they could have turned it into a toaster.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But didn't you understand, sir, that by letting the car remain there, your aunt was stuck with this $840 payment that you owed her?
I had full intention on paying her, but I couldn't justify why am I paying her. She has my car, she has my title, threatened to forge my signature on my title, said that she could get $1,300 at a junkyard for it, tried signing it. She didn't seem to want either, so I just was like, well, make up your mind.
Can you get any money for his car?
It turns out that in Massachusetts you have to have an inspection sticker, and the car had already been rejected, so it had a rejection sticker on there because it needed some taillights, it needed some other underneath work, but I wasn't sure exactly what. But it also had a cracked windshield, so that was another $200 and some odd. So it turns out that the car wasn't worth what the Kelley Blue Book value on it was. So when he wanted to change the deal and just sign that over to me and say, well, you get to sell the car for whatever, he couldn't understand that I didn't want to deal with selling the car, plus the car wasn't worth the money, and so I wanted him still to pay me the money he owed me. And he
Fabulous.
just didn't
Where
understand.
is the car now?
It's in the parking lot of my parents' house.
Where's the title to the car?
I have the title here.
May I have it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we gave you the title, I assume, because you indicate that in your complaint, to hold as collateral.
Correct.
Mr. Pittman, Chad,
Yes,
that would be you, right?
that's me.
Guess what I have for you, Chad?
A title?
You know how quick and clever he is?
Sharp as a bowling ball.
Sharp as a bowling ball. Now you have the car. She wants her $840 and what she spent to get it out of impound.
I didn't ask her to get it out of impound. She went out to get it by herself.
Well,
I
let
was
me
in
ask you
Middleton
this
at the
question,
time.
Mr. Pittman. Let's follow your logic, sir. We're now talking about a substantial amount of time later, 10 months. Ultimately, you were going to either get your car stuck with paying her $840. What I'm giving you the opportunity to do is to take the car now that you have the title, and you can sell it. Maybe you can sell it for junk. Maybe you can get $200 for it. Maybe you can get $300 for it. Or you can sign the car over to her. Do you understand?
Yeah, that was
Sign the car
original-
over to her, and you're still going to pay her $840. What's your pleasure, Mr. Pittman? Mr. Pittman, this is your choice. I'm going to see how smart a boy you are. You can either sign the car over to her now and pay her $840, or you can keep the car and pay her $840. What would you like to do?
Well, I'll keep the car. I'll give her the $840.
Perfect. Love it. Thank you
good.
very much, in addition to the towing. You got it?
Gotcha.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,050.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We had a gentleman's agreement, so to speak, and he didn't want to comply with it.
She decided that it was necessary to grab my arm and punch me in the chest and whatnot.
I did hit him in the chest. I was trying to get the title back. He had it all balled up in his hands.
I told her she couldn't have the title back until she let go of my arm, so she decided to punch me in the chest.
He's bigger than me, so I climbed up on him and grabbed his arm and hit him and said, "Give it back," and then pried it out of his fingers.
I threw the title, walked out, runs to the door. You're nothing but a piece of... Hope you rot in jail for the rest of your life. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, see you later. Love you too.
You shouldn't have to do that. You expect more out of your family.
It's family. Family is family. I never expected to be going on the Judge Judy show with family against family. I would never do anything to hurt my family. It is family.
I'm sure that time heals.
All parties in the matter of Faye versus Malabar. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Megan Faye is suing her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old waiter Kevin Malabar, for loans to pay rent and to buy a new cell phone. Kevin claims Megan is upset that he's moved on.
Miss Faye, it is your claim that you made 2 small loans to the defendant while you were dating.
Yes.
Mr. Malabar says that he doesn't record, that he doesn't need your money. He has no knowledge of any loans or financial gifts that you made to him. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. You both go to school?
Yes.
When did you make the first loan?
It was August 7th.
2006?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
He said that his dad couldn't pay for his rent because his dad was getting a new job. So he wanted me to lend him the money until his dad could pay me with the new job, and that was $420.
What was the money for?
The rent money.
Where did you get the money from?
My savings account.
You have proof of that for me?
Yeah, I have the statements right here.
Can I see it, please?
I had to take 2 up. Okay.
You had to take 2 out because?
I was doing the ATM, so I didn't think I would be able to take $420 out at once, so I split it up.
Okay. Were you working?
Yes.
What kind of work were you doing?
I work at JCPenney's.
Full-time?
Part-time. I work between 15 and 30 hours while going to school.
But what about you, sir?
I work full-time in a restaurant as a server.
What was the next loan that you made to him?
I've been bugging him about a cell phone, so he told me that he wanted to get one, so his dad said he couldn't do it, so I went with him to open it, and...
What do you mean you were bugging him about a cell phone?
He didn't have a cell phone, so I'd have to call his friends, and he said that he would get one, and his dad would pay for it, but his dad couldn't do it at that time, so I went with him and opened one for him.
Well, he was working. Why didn't he buy it?
He just started, and I made him get that job. He didn't want to work. And
how much was the cell phone?
It was $200.
Okay, and you don't remember any of this, sir?
No, my father would pay cash for my rent. My parents are divorced, and they both would pay half of the rent.
So you have no information whatsoever about this $420 amount of money?
No. And what was the date she said she took that money out?
August 7th.
Our rent was due the 20th of every month.
Yes.
So I don't know why there would be the 7th of the month that she would be taking out money for my rent.
I don't know. That's
He
what
was
says.
going to visit his friend where he was living, and he needed it that day because he wouldn't get to it before the due date. That's what he told me. I was all just going on what he was telling me, and I didn't want him to lose his apartment, so I gave him the money.
Okay. Now, Miss Fay, you claim that after he refused to pay you back because you had some disagreement about his going out with somebody else, you contacted his father.
Yes.
And how did you contact him?
I had a cell phone because Kevin would use my phone to call his father and his mother. So I called his dad hoping he would be able to help me out.
And did you speak with him?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said that he couldn't help me, that he talked to Kevin, and Kevin wanted to do this on his own because he was 20, and that if nothing happens, he told me that I should do small claims court.
That's what his father told you?
Yes. Because
What's
he
your
didn't want
father's
to help me
telephone
out.
number, sir?
5763.
Is that his work number?
No, that's his cell phone.
Good. Did you ever meet him, by the way?
Yes. I would go to his house with Kevin. I would have to drive him because
Good.
he didn't have a car.
I'm going to give your dad a call.
Okay.
How's that?
That's fine.
Great. Mr. This is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? Mr. I have a couple of questions for you. Do you have a moment for me, sir? Great, great. Do you remember sometime several months ago receiving a phone call from Miss Fay, your son's former girlfriend, Megan Fay? She discussed with you some money that she said your son had borrowed from her? Did she tell you how much he had borrowed? Did you agree to pay her that money? Kevin about it? And what happened? Okay. Did you tell Miss Fay that if he owed her money, that she should sue him? I absolutely agree with you, sir. You've met this young lady before, is that right? Ever had any difficulty with her before? Seemed like a nice young lady? Very good. Thanks very much. I appreciate your assistance. Bye-bye now.
He said.
There are always ways to figure out who's telling the truth, Mr. Malabar. If I can't get it from one source, I get it from another. Don't you feel foolish? 10 million people are going to know you're a liar.
I'm not lying here.
Yes, you are.
What did he say?
That's for me to know and for you to think about. But there's no question in my mind you're a liar. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $620. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just glad that she saw what he was and that I got my money.
She never lent me money. My parents paid all my rent and for everything else.
He's a liar and he's cheated on everyone.
Jealousy.
I don't talk to the defendant.
Craziness.
Don't give people money.
Got stopped by the police for a traffic infraction. The first time you were stopped, what kind of violation was it, Miss Johnson?
Speeding.
Speeding? And how fast were you going?
I think I was going like 60, I think, 50.
Could you keep your voice up, please?
Like 60 or about 55.
And when she got stopped for speeding, according to the complaint, which is you know, not disputed by the defendant. She gave her cousin's name. Your cousin?
Yeah. Yes,
she gave her cousin's name because she didn't want to get in trouble. And that worked out just fine, except she never showed up to pay the ticket or anything else. She just let it go. Right?
Yes.
Then she got stopped again. And she figured it worked so well the first time, according to her.
Why not?
She gave her cousin's name again.
This must be her favorite cousin.
And what did you get stopped for the second time, Miss Johnson?
Running a stoplight.
In what jurisdiction do you live?
Los Angeles.
She again gave her cousin's name.
Well, can I explain the first time, you know?
It's not funny. I don't think you're funny. I don't think you're funny at all. So let me go further, and then we're going to get the details of this fiasco, because, you know, I like to sort of lay out the situation. So she gives her cousin's name twice. Her cousin finds out about it. How?
I was getting insurance on my car, and the lady notified me that my license was suspended, and I had 2 tickets on my record. And I could not get insurance until the license was cleared up.
So your license, they suspended your license?
Yes, ma'am.
You're lucky they didn't issue a warrant for your arrest.
Yes. And this was, I was driving around. I didn't find out till like 10 months later that my license, it has been suspended 5 months before I even knew about it.
So she and her cousin discuss it, and she decides to do the responsible and goes to court and pleads guilty.
I plead guilty.
Yeah, she pleads guilty.
Okay.
And and they assess her fines. And this is what the case is about. She wants her cousin to pay the fines, all the fines, for the 2 tickets she got.
Your Honor.
And the cousin says, I don't know. We're family. Because I was trying to understand what your defense is. So before I go on, I want to tell you both the following. What you did was a crime, Miss Key. Do you know that?
No.
Well, I'm going to explain that to you. When you go into court and you pled guilty, someone said to you, raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
And then they said to you, what is your name?
Judy Key.
And you told them your name. And then they said, how are you pleading? Guilty. You said, I'm pleading guilty. And you're pleading guilty because you were guilty.
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what you were doing. When you enter a plea of guilty, what you're doing is you are perpetrating a fraud on the court. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a crime. You can't do that. You can't do that. And when you gave her name, that is a crime. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Is this the first time somebody told you it was a crime?
No, it's not.
When for the first time did somebody tell you it was a crime, Miss Johnson?
The second time after I did it.
You mean you didn't know the first time?
Well, the first time I was intoxicated, and I just said the first thing came to my mind.
So not only were you speeding, you were drunk and speeding.
It was my birthday. Well, I mean, I was turning 21. So I was intoxicated that day.
Judge, the only reason why I pled guilty, she agreed to pay me. So we didn't have to go through all these court processes. She said, I'll pay you for it, don't worry about it. Under that, I said, okay. Once I got that money, I told her, this is how much it costs, you owe me this, and it has to be done by August 8th. That was our court date. I didn't get any money but $50 from her.
Just a second. You have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
Go get it.
Your Honor,
Go
time she did.
get your driver's license.
I didn't bring it with me today.
Go get your pocketbook. Get it and bring it in. Fast.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind?
Well, she told me she was going to do community service
She's
for
not doing community service for you. Why should she do community service for you? What are you doing?
And later today,
Don't bother me with nonsense. You hear about furniture. Well, don't throw in the kitchen sink to a lawsuit.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dewanique Key says her cousin, Datiana Johnson, used her identity during 2 traffic stops. Datiana claims on the first occasion, she was drunk.
Empty your pocketbook. Is that your driver's license?
My California ID.
I'll take it. Now empty your pocketbook. I want the driver's license.
I don't have the driver's license here.
Then empty your pocketbook.
You want me to take everything out of my purse?
I want you to give me your driver's license.
I didn't bring it. I didn't drive today.
Unless this court receives your driver's license, madam, within 3 days, it is my intention to inform the police department in Los Angeles to confiscate your driver's license. Do we understand each other? Do we understand each other?
Yes. Can I ask why, though? I mean, this is
because you perpetrated a fraud on the court. Her driver's license was suspended when yours should have been suspended. Don't you get that?
And I had a failure to appear.
Don't you get that? Your driver's license should have been suspended. You were driving, according to you, drunk. You got a speeding ticket. You gave somebody else's name. The second time, you did the same thing. You ran a red light and gave somebody else's name, and you still have a driver's license. Your driver's license should have been suspended. And if I don't get your driver's license so that you don't have it, it is my intention to inform the police department in Los Angeles, which I may do anyway. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
This belongs to me. Now, you have 30 seconds to tell me why you don't owe those fines.
Because I was under the impression that she did community service.
Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind?
Well, she told me she was going to do community service.
She's not doing community service for you. Why should she do community service for you? What are you doing?
She was doing it for herself.
I don't understand what you mean she was doing it for herself.
Meaning because that's my name.
I don't understand what you mean she was doing it for herself.
Because she called me and told me that the judge ordered her to do community service. So when she told me that, I thought it was taken care of.
What do you do for a living?
Right now, I'm not employed.
How do you support yourself?
I have ways.
How do you support yourself?
My daughter's father.
Supports you?
Child support, basically.
Who do you live with?
My mother.
Why don't you work?
I was employed. I just recently stopped.
Why?
I was working through an agency, and they're looking for another job for me.
What kind of car do you drive?
A Cadillac.
I asked you a question. An answer I want.
A Cadillac.
What year?
98.
In whose name is the car?
It's in my name.
Where is it registered?
In Los Angeles.
Yes.
She just got that car, so she had plenty of time to pay me back. This car is brand new. Paid cash.
You must get a lot of child. In any event, Ms. Key, to whom do you owe the fines?
The Los Angeles District Court from Traffic Division, I believe.
And how much is owed to them?
Roughly $1,700. One ticket was $1,189, and the second ticket was $565.
Now, Ms. Key.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't get any award for brains, because what you did was so wrong. And I understand that you may feel as if, well, it's family and you didn't want her to get into trouble.
Yes, ma'am.
But what you did was against the law. You do understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you deserve to have a consequence. I assume that you did already have a consequence.
I had enough.
You had enough?
Yes.
I believe that that's probably true. She hasn't had any yet, but believe me, she's going to have plenty, because she's not going to have a license to drive around in this new Cadillac that's in her name. Because I had this. And the police department is going to be notified of her scam. You get it? Perfect. $1,754, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just think this is absolutely ridiculous.
I'm happy with the decision.
I know I did something wrong, but, you know...
This is on my record.
I gave her $50.
$50? Come on.
Some people don't get nothing.
The ticket's, what, $1,700? $50 couldn't make or break my tickets.
Yeah, I just have to get over it now.
I hope that she doesn't do it again.
She got her ruling, and now leave me alone.
She wants her wedding expenses paid.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 107 on the calendar in the matter of Roblek versus Lacey. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
according to these papers, Ms. Roblek, you met the defendant through a dating service. Within a relatively short period of time, you were living together and planning a wedding.
That's correct.
You say that he broke the engagement. You were left with some wedding bills and want to be compensated.
That's correct.
You say that the defendant forged some checks of yours.
Yes, Your Honor. I have copies here if you need to see them.
I will in time. And you don't understand what she's suing for.
Well, I can understand she wants to be compensated, but at the same time, I never agreed to a big, expensive wedding. I wanted to keep things down, low cost. We live in Las Vegas, so obviously you can do things a little bit affordable there as far as getting married.
Did you discuss that with each other?
Off and on. I work on board a ship. I'm gone 2 weeks out of the month. And so a lot of times there wasn't a lot of discussion. Things were just done while I was gone.
Well, let me hear what kind of plans that you made and what you spent.
Your Honor, I had put a deposit down on a dress that was $117. I never got the dress. That was just the deposit. I had gotten a dress for my daughter, deposit.
How much?
Oh, $85 there. Invitations were $163.91.
All monies that you paid?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
I also contributed $1,600 towards my wedding ring. He contributed $1,000.
Okay, where's the wedding ring?
Right here.
So you have it?
I have it. I would never have spent the money had he not asked me to marry him. That is my point, is I never would have spent this kind of money if he hadn't intended to marry me. And I have these wonderful, beautiful letters that say he couldn't...
Ms. Roblek, you may not have intended to buy yourself a wedding ring, but you have it.
Yes.
He paid $1,000 towards it. He says that in his answer. He's not seeking it back because I have no counterclaim. Correct, sir?
That's correct.
So you have the ring, which has been appraised, according to him, for substantially more than the $1,600 that you paid for it. So sell it. Then you're not out any money. You can at least sell it and get your $1,600 back because it costs $2,600 and he put in $1,000. So what other expenses are you out, Ms. Roblek?
During the time he was living with me, I had this $700 phone bill because apparently David was very lonely and was calling everybody he knew in the world. So that was $700 that I was left to pay that he proceeded to write checks to me for and stop payment on them.
Okay. Did you look at the phone bill, sir?
I did not look at the phone bill, but I did not disagree with it. I agreed to pay that money.
Fine, $700.
$750 is what I wrote checks for.
$750. Now, you
he didn't write checks for phone bills.
Just a second.
That's not what he paid.
No, you said that he wrote checks and then he stopped payment
Correct.
on them. Why did you stop payment on them, sir?
Your Honor, September 16th of '97, I reported back to the Gulf of Mexico on the ship that I work on. During that time, I found out that checks number 1223 and 1221 had been written and cashed while I was on board the ship. There was no way of me writing for those. During that time also, there's $750 worth of checks that state phone bill out of this checkbook. I had these checks stopped because they were made out by Miss Roblek, and she also endorsed them on the back. If you care to look at those, that'd be fine.
I absolutely would.
And you can look at my handwriting from the checks I wrote.
Ms. Roblek, before I look at these and compare signatures, etc., do you acknowledge that you wrote checks out of his checkbook?
Absolutely not.
You did not?
I did not. I didn't have. His stuff was stored in the garage. He said he was coming back to pick up his things in August after he disappeared one day. He got drunk and disappeared on me.
Where are the canceled checks, sir, for $750?
Well, it's check number 1186, 1192, and 1193.
1192.
And 1193. They were all made out to her.
Right, and those are the stop payment checks that I have the original.
Can I see them, please?
Mr. Lacey is left-handed. He could have very well written those checks to make me look like some kind of fool.
You say that she forged your name on a $750 check.
She wrote those two checks out to herself and signed my name to them.
Assuming she did that, means you still owe her the $750.
I paid $250 of it, as you'll note. The first check did go through.
So according to you, sir, you still owe her $500?
Yes. I never disputed. I never said I would not pay that.
At the end, the letters that I got, he agreed if putting things on hold costs money, he'll pay for it. That was everything with the wedding, too.
Just a second. You didn't have that major expense for the wedding, madam.
But the $1,600 that I put out for this ring, I never would have put out had he not asked me to marry him.
You're not going to get that back, Mrs. Roblek. It's not as if you're out any money. You can sell the ring and certainly get as much for it.
But why should I? He's the one that broke the engagement. He should give me the money for the ring.
Your Honor, the reason I broke the engagement is because I was getting pushed into a corner. I've been through bankruptcy.
No, your mother told you that you shouldn't get married,
Please don't talk to each other.
Could you
Let me. Mama said no.
Could you please ask her not to get my mother into this?
No,
because
we will
I
get your mother
don't appreciate
involved.
this kind of talk.
Too bad.
This is my shop. Don't talk to him. You want to tell me, sir, because you want to get it off your chest. Why did you break this engagement, according to you?
Just because of the fact that I was getting pushed into the corner. I've stated already, I did not want to get into a large, expensive wedding.
So did you tell her that, sir?
Yes, time and time again.
And what was her response?
Her response was, if we aren't going through this wedding in October, forget it. At that time, I said, I think it's a good idea. We take a couple steps backwards, and I go back to my condominium, which I forgot to add in July of '97. I don't have the receipt, so it's just my word that she went and picked up the rent, which was $600, and I never got that back either.
So you were renting your condo?
Rented it out while I was living with her.
His statement to me was he wanted to go back to his condo so he could lay out by the pool.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
He left the 30th of July drunk and never came back.
Your Honor, could I ask Ms. Roblek to please watch her statements so that I don't have to come back at her like I feel like doing?
And later today,
the minute I walked in the door when I got home, my husband called. I said, I sold your cards. And he flipped out. He said, what? I can't believe it. He didn't even want to know how much I sold them for.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Casino pit boss Beth Ann Roblek wants her wedding expenses paid after restaurant chef David Lacey broke their engagement.
Mr. Lacey, you clearly acknowledge that you owe her $500.
Yes, I do.
And as far as her dress is concerned and her daughter's dress, I am discounting that. But she did spend, and I assume you have a receipt to show me, $163 for invitations. That was non-refundable. Let me see it, please.
Thank you.
When was the engagement broken?
Approximately
July,
August.
the end of July.
August.
He left the 30th of July drunk and never came back.
Your Honor, could I ask Ms. Roblek to please watch her statements so that I don't have to come back at her like I feel like doing?
Yeah. Ms. Roblek, you may be angry.
It cost me a lot of money here.
It didn't cost you a lot of money, madam.
And
really, you're not
heartache.
out of pocket a lot of money at all. At most, you're out of pocket a couple $100 because the ring that you're sporting on your finger you can sell, so you're not out $1,600. So what you're angry at is you're angry at the fact that this wedding didn't come to fruition. That's what you're angry at, all right? But if an engagement is broken, it's usually for a very good reason, and it's usually a very good reason, especially you, because you have 2 children. So if you're not getting along before
That he never
the wedding,
even said goodbye to when he left.
oh, Ms. Roblek, you're a very angry lady. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $586.50. $500 for your phone bill, sir, and half of the invitations. Period. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I hope no one else ever bothers to get involved with David because they're going to be in a lot of trouble if they do. Mama won't like it.
Well, number one, I guess, hello, Mama. And as far as the rest of it goes, I think everything worked out just fine.
And now the next case.
Parties on Costa versus Memory Lane Sports Memorabilia. Step forward, please.
44-year-old engineer Joe Costa wants Memory Lane Sports memorabilia owner Larry Levine to return his 35-year-old baseball card collection.
Are you Mrs. Costa?
Yes.
Could you step up, please?
Sure.
You, sir, had been collecting baseball cards and football cards since you were a child.
Yes.
And you took his baseball cards and sold them to the defendant, who has a store.
Correct.
You want the cards back.
Yes.
All right, so you're an important part of this case, Mrs. Costa. Now, I assume from my reading of these papers that you and your husband had discussed selling the baseball cards. Is that right?
We had discussed going to this, just going somewhere and finding out their value. The garage had flooded, and I was thinking, well, if they're just going to get molded or ruined in the garage, maybe we should see if they're worth anything.
So you had a discussion with your husband?
Yes, we brought them into the house.
And tell me about the discussion that you had with your husband.
That was about the extent of it. And I went to the shopping center that we frequent all the time. I've been in the defendant's store a couple times. I told him I might bring them by. I bought a Nebraska football, a couple baseball hats. Just felt familiar with it. Asked him if he would look at the cards. He agreed.
And you had discussed with your husband the fact that you were going to take them in to have him look at the cards.
I mentioned it.
And what did your husband say to you?
I don't remember anything in particular that he said to me. He didn't say, don't sell them or anything.
It would seem to me that if two people were having a discussion about baseball cards, an extensive collection of baseball cards, that you, sir, would have had some indication of their value. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it would also seem to me, logically, that you would have shared that with your wife.
Yes, Your Honor.
So what did you tell her that you thought the cards were worth?
We didn't discuss the value of the cards. The cards had never been appraised.
And when your wife told you that she was going to take them in, are you trying to tell me, sir, that you didn't tell your wife, I think that this is what the cards are worth?
No, she's only going to show them. And I knew there were valuable cards.
There was a misunderstanding, and I didn't have intention to sell them when I went in that day. I wanted to see what they were worth. By the time I left his store, I went in, he thumbed through them real quick, showed me all the little deformities, oh, the corner's bent, et cetera, et cetera. Said there's not really anything of a lot of value here. There's some bulk value. I'll give you a couple hundred. I paused. He said, how about 300? I tried to call my husband from the store, and I got his voicemail at work. I had a conversation with his wife. His wife was there while this was happening. And I said, well, we've been in your store before. I said, is this about the same that somebody's going to give me down the street? Because I thought if they're worth a lot, like 1,000, 1,500, I would take them some, a couple places. The minute I walked in the door when I got home, my husband called. I said, I sold your cards. And he flipped out. He said, what? I can't believe it. He didn't even want to know how much I sold them for. And he went over there within the hour and...
You mean within the hour of you selling the cards to him?
Yes, they still had them out on the counter when my husband went back into the store.
Okay. Mr. Levine, up until this point, nobody is faulting you. And I wouldn't even fault you subsequently, because you had somebody who came in who had what we call in the legal business apparent authority to sell those cards, right? You had the cards. You had gone in a couple of days before. You were the one who said, I want to bring some cards in for you to see. You didn't say to him, these are my husband's cards. I don't have the right
I told him that they were my husband's cards.
Did she tell you they were her husband's cards?
I believe she did tell me.
Well, did you? Oh, she did. That's an important piece. So, Mr. Levine, at that point, sir, that puts you on notice. And it puts you on notice that she may not have the authority to sell those cards.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Mr. Costa, I find that hard to believe. And Mr. Levine, you did the wrong thing, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joe Costa is suing for the return of his childhood baseball card collection. Card shop owner Larry Levine says the cards have already been sold.
Mr. Levine, if she had apparent authority to sell those cards, because she said they were her cards, she could sell them, then these people, right off the bat, would be out of luck. But in this case, Mr. Levine, you were on notice that despite the fact that she had the apparent authority to sell the cards because they were in her possession, they actually belonged to her husband. So let's get on to within the hour, Mr. Costa shows up at your store and says to you, those are my cards. My wife had no authority to sell them. At that point, you had the responsibility, sir, of returning the cards to him. And please, Mr. Levine, don't try to tell me that within the hour you went out and sold the cards, or any of them, because I won't believe you. Do you understand? And if you do tell me that, You're not going to like my response. So go ahead. Did you sell any of the cards within the hour?
I had an offer to have those cards sold within the hour, yes. Within 5 minutes, actually.
Now, you did not, in fact, sell them within that 5-minute period or the hour period. You may have gotten an offer, but they were still in your possession. So at that point, you had the obligation, I'm making this determination now, to return the cards to the rightful owner and say, this is an unfortunate mistake, that's it. So where are the cards now?
I sold the cards.
How much did you sell his cards for?
$600.
How many did you sell for $600?
I sold all of them.
You sold the entire collection for $600?
Yes.
To whom?
To another card dealer.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Costa, how did you know the value of these cards?
In 1992, my cousin gave me Beckett's magazine, and Beckett's is a pretty accurate magazine for the determining the value of cards.
And give me some idea, to the best of your recollection, sir, what the value of the cards were.
Some of the better cards.
Altogether?
Total worth was about 57, the way I calculated it. All the cards.
Okay. Did you sell the entire collection of cards?
I sold everything but one card.
Okay. And you said you brought these cards up from the basement.
They were in the garage.
The cards were in the garage?
Right.
In what?
In a box about this size.
In a cardboard box? Mm-hmm. You're telling me that in 1992, you valued a collection at almost $6,000. And from 1992 to 1997, you kept this $6,000 investment in a garage, in a paper box, not a metal box, not a safe, not put them up in your bedroom, up above, your shoes.
Yeah.
You left them in a garage.
That's correct.
Yeah,
no, they weren't.
Mr. Costa, I find that hard to believe because I have to come up with a monetary amount that this man has to pay you because he did the wrong thing. And Mr. Levine, you did the wrong thing, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Mr. Levine, you did the wrong thing, sir. You did the wrong thing because you had knowledge, you were unnoticed that the cards did not belong to this lady, that they belonged to her husband. So that does away with the theory of apparent authority to sell the cards. He came to you within the hour. So the right thing for you to do would have been to return the cards. You didn't do that, and you got to suffer. And my only problem is how to value it. And quite frankly, I don't know how to value it. I really don't know how to value it. Because I don't believe, sir, that when you have a $6,000 piece of property, you don't keep it out in a garage. You put it someplace where you keep valuables. You don't keep it out in the garage. In any event, I'm awarding you $2,500. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Mr. Levine, when you're in business, the most important thing that you have is your reputation. And as far as I'm concerned, this case besmirches your reputation. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You must have said, will you marry me? Does that sound familiar?
But they got unhitched after she climbed on stage at a Yanni concert.
She stopped the show.
I am totally shocked.
Real people, Judge Judy.
I have made amends for 3 weeks straight, so there's nothing I can do to replace the cards. I really didn't care about the money.
To me, it was a business transaction that went awry, and I apologize. That's all I can say.
He has a coin collection, and I won't touch it. I promise. I promise.
On the calendar in the matter of Trujillo versus Fuentes. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
All right, Ms. Trujillo, you can relax for a moment.
Okay.
Because I'm going to direct my attention to Mr. Fuentes. You vandalized her car. Did a little damage. According to her, you did a little tap dance on the hood. Now, you seem to acknowledge the fact in your answer, sir, or you admit in your answer, that you did, in fact, do a little damage to her car. Right?
Yeah.
What I'm getting is, from your answer, and it's sort of convoluted, is that when you did the damage to her car, you didn't know it was her car, you thought it was somebody else's car, and when you found out it was her car, she deserved it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go. This is a good case.
Pretty quick.
All right. Now, you want to tell me why you were doing a dance on a car that you thought was somebody else's?
Well, first of all, didn't nobody do a dance on her car.
Tell me how you vandalized her car.
I kicked her car.
You kicked it.
Yeah.
Where?
The door.
And that wasn't an accident. You did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Because she was getting involved in my life. I didn't like how she was doing it.
Just a second. When you kicked this car door, you didn't know it was her car. You thought it was somebody else's car.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was somebody
right?
else's. Exactly.
Whose car did you think it was?
My baby's mom's.
Your baby's mother,
Yes.
who you were angry at.
Yeah, well, she hit my car, so I kicked her car back.
So you were getting even.
Exactly.
And then, whoops, you found out it was the wrong car.
Yeah.
You found out it was her car. And then you said to yourself, what?
Then I told him that, you know, she had owed me money for my car. They were living together. They were like best of friends.
Just a minute. Not she. She didn't owe you any money. The mother of your baby owed you money.
Yeah. But she was living with her, right?
Yeah.
She wasn't paying rent, so kind of like, you know, they were like a team. So in my eyes, they both owed me money. She was pumping her up, you know, turning her against me, so she was kind of like the cause of it, you know?
How old are you?
24.
Could I see the estimates and the pictures of this car, please? You have a witness who saw him do this to your car?
Well, she was supposed to be my witness, but now she's on his side.
Who is she?
She's his baby's mother.
Ah!
Can I say something?
Step up here. Just a second. No, you don't say anything. You answer my questions. Tell me your name. That's first.
Esperanza Quinones.
All right. Now, Miss Quinones, you're in your house.
Yes.
You were living with her at the time?
No, that was my apartment. She was staying with me.
You were living together at the time?
Yes. That was my apartment, though. She was just
Who
staying
cares?
with me.
And you looked out the window,
Yes.
right? Just answer my questions. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I do.
You look here and you answer my questions. Because I know everything. You look out your window and you see Sir Galahad over here dancing on the hood of her car. And you called her.
No, I didn't see him. I heard the noises. I heard somebody
Heard the
messing up with her.
noises. So you looked out the window. And what did you see?
I couldn't see if you were to see how the apartment looks when they park the
No,
cars
no, no,
on the
look here.
side,
Yeah.
you can't see where the cars are parked. So I didn't actually see him. I heard some noises, but because we were fighting
What kind
at the
of
time.
noise?
Well, when they're jumping on the car, you know the noises that, you know, when you're hitting a car, those kind of noises.
All right. So just stop right there. You didn't hear just one hit on a car. You heard half a dozen.
Yes, I did.
Right. And then what did you do?
Well, I ran downstairs, and by the time I ran downstairs, I didn't see anybody hitting the car. But there was a lot of group of guys and girls that don't like her. So, you know, there was people, you know, that don't like her. So I figured, you know, it could have been him because at the time we were arguing. And
He
we were
says it was
fighting.
him. Stop
You know,
talking about other boys
he
and girls.
said it was
Let's
him, but he kicked the car. He kicked the car. He didn't say he did all the damages that are on the car. So, you know, I didn't actually see him do it. I can't say he did it, you know?
Sit down.
So there was a lot of...
Sit down. Good. Well, whether you danced on the hood or whether you just kicked it a whole bunch of times, sir, there's plenty of damage that comes just from kicking. And if anybody's dumb enough to take out to take out their frustrations on a car. Probably dumb enough to dance all over the hood, too.
I have police report that the witness filed saying that he did do the damage to my car.
Not a witness. I can't look at a witness's statement. Is it his
No,
statement?
it's a police report that she filed saying what he did to my car.
Who's she?
That she's Esperanza. That she's seen him
let
do
me
it to
see
my
that.
car.
That I'll see. Oh, that I'll look at.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
All that report is all messed up. They just wrote it all wrong.
Would know the truth if it came up and knocked her right in the nose.
And later today,
In California, it's all very spooky here
We
because
even
they may
have-
say, you know, in California, they say, well, maybe the place is haunted by ghosts, you know, spirits.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Trujillo wants Robert Fuentes to pay the damages she says Robert did to her car when he stomped on it.
You saw him jumping up and down on victim's vehicle. Why would you tell that to the police?
At that time, like I said, we were fighting. Before that happened, I had went downstairs. Before he even did that to the car, I had already went downstairs. We got in an argument. She was instigating, telling me a lot of stuff about him. I'm the one that kicked his car first. And then, you know, when he did that, he spit at me.
He thought it was your car.
Yeah, he thought it was my car.
That's not my question. My question is, why would you tell the police?
I
Why
just
would
answered
you
your
lie?
question. I was mad. I was
Why would
mad.
you
At
lie?
that point, I was
so
mad.
So you
at
lied
him.
to the police.
Well, if that's what
Just
you
a
wanna
minute.
call it.
What do you mean? That's what I want to call it. Here you tell me you saw nothing.
I did.
And to
you
the
know,
police,
okay,
you
first of
told
all,
that you
okay,
saw.
first of all, that report is all wrong because his brother's name is on there. His brother wasn't even there that day, which is Christopher Fuentes. He was not there that day. All that report is all messed up, all of it. Because when I spoke to one of the detectives, they told me the wrong story, and I didn't get to fix the story. Whatever. They just wrote it all wrong. Period.
Judge Judy?
Shh, just a second. I can't read this.
Okay.
Listen, she would know the truth if it came up and knocked her right in the
Well,
nose.
at the point when you're mad, you know, you say things that you don't mean.
All right. Let me read this to you. So, two police got it wrong. Two different sets of police got it wrong. So I read this to you. It says, he spit in the victim's face and then ran down to his vehicle. The victim heard loud noises from her bedroom window, which overlooks the alley to the rear of her residence. She looked downstairs and observed the suspect jumping up and down on top of Miss Trujillo's vehicle, causing numerous dents. So two police got it all wrong, right?
That is wrong. I
They're
didn't
all
see.
wrong.
I didn't see.
Sit down. Sit down. Do you have the car fixed?
Yes, I did.
Did you have it fixed
Her
for
car
this
even
amount?
worth
Yes, I did, ma'am.
Did you have it fixed for this amount?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
$4,093?
And 2 cents.
And 2
That's
cents.
probably
You
what her
are
whole car's
absolutely
worth.
right. Judgment in this case
That's
for the
probably what
plaintiff
her
in the
whole
amount of
car's worth is
$4,093 and 2 cents.
$4,000.
Put her out.
Parties are excused. Step out.
We don't get along now, so now she's on his side and she can't make up her mind what she wants to say, so.
Nobody changed the story. You know, they did get the report wrong, but, you know, judge is always right, so what could I say?
And now the next case.
Parties on Viramontes versus Allen. Step forward, please.
Mobile homeowners Jack and Margaret Viramontes are suing mobile home seller June Allen for not disclosing a suicide on their property before they bought it. They want the blood-stained carpet replaced.
You bought a mobile home from the defendant. Your complaint alleges that, unbeknownst to you, someone had committed suicide in the mobile home, leaving bloodstains on the carpet. You want her to replace all the carpet. That's
Yes,
what this
ma'am.
case is about?
Yes, ma'am.
You say someone did, in fact, commit suicide in your home.
Yes.
You replaced whatever areas that were there that were bloodied as a result of that. What makes you think she has to tell you that somebody committed suicide in the house when she sells you a home?
Because it's supposed to be disclosed.
What's supposed to be disclosed?
A suicide within 3 years on a disclosure.
Really? Let me see.
It's in here where?
I never heard of that disclosure before.
Me neither.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I'm a real estate agent, and...
Step up here. Tell me your name.
Rita Callison.
Over there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Over there. Yes?
And according to the law of California...
Just a second. Show me a statute. You can't quote a law to me. Show me something that says...
It should be in that file.
This says no cause of action arises against an owner of real property, that's you, or an agent, for the failure to disclose to the transferee, that's you, the occurrence of an occupant's death upon real property or the manner of death where the death has occurred more than 3 years prior to the date of the transfer or purchase or lease, or that the occupant of the property was afflicted with or died from AIDS.
Right. In other words, anything that happened prior to the 3 years prior.
Doesn't say that here.
So anything less than 3 years.
It says no cause of action arises afterwards, but it doesn't say what your cause of action is before. Why didn't you bring me that?
Well, our procedures in California is disclosures on everything that affects the sellability of the property.
Quite frankly, I don't see how a suicide, some guest, this was a guest in your home?
He was my fiance.
I don't see how that can affect the saleability of the home. Usually a crack in the walls affect the saleability of a home. You know, I don't know. In California, it's all very spooky here because they may say, you know, in California, they say, well, maybe the place is haunted by ghosts, you know, or spirits or something else. There's a lot of that out here.
We have to even disclose if there's drugs next door, if there's been reports to police of problems, if there's a motorcycle gang that lives next door.
I don't
by
have
law.
This, listen to me. I don't have. You want her to buy back the motorhome from you?
No.
Or the home?
I don't mind.
Well, he says no.
It's not up to him. It's up to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's thinking that somebody committed suicide, and she thought that were bloodstains, and I did too. And every time I go past that carpet and I see those stains, I have to.
Don't talk to her.
I have to cover Jerry up.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Jack and Margaret Viramontes want their blood-stained carpet replaced by previous homeowner June Allen.
This realtor says that the law says that she has to disclose it. But I don't have what the law says your remedies are. Now, your remedy may be that you are permitted to, within that window of time, force her to repurchase the property for what you paid for it. I don't have that.
Why did she leave the rug in front of the door with the stains on it?
Didn't you see it when you were there?
No.
No. I'm sorry.
Who are you?
I'm sorry.
Sit down.
It was raining. There's a rug there.
Yeah.
Your Honor, there's a throw rug on the carpet, and through the walkthrough that we did, it was a rainy season. We seen it 3 feet away from the door.
Right.
We went through the walkthrough and everything. We purchased the mobile home. Then when we moved in, the same carpet, the same throw rug was right there. We lifted it up, and there's stains. We tried to have the carpet cleaned, and the carpet company said they're not ink stains.
You can't tell me what the carpet company said. Did the stains come out or did they not come out?
No.
So why don't you just replace the carpeting?
That's all I'm asking for.
But why don't you replace the carpeting?
She's thinking,
listen to me.
She's thinking that somebody committed suicide, and she thought that were bloodstains, and I did too. And every time I go past that carpet and I see those stains, I have to.
Don't talk to her.
I have to cover Jerry up.
Listen to me, madam. You bought a place. When you buy a place, you're supposed to look at it. If there are stains on the carpet, you're supposed to see it. If you're buying a place just be quiet.
I didn't look underneath the rug until we moved in.
Well, why not?
Well,
Your Honor.
Just a second. Why not?
I should look under a rug, a throw rug when it's raining. It's rainy season. Aren't you supposed to have a rug down to wipe your feet?
If the carpet was important to you, then I would take a look at the carpet and see what's there. What I'm saying to you
Well,
is...
if you're honest, you know, you don't have a throw rug over some stains like that, thank you.
You seem to be very upset about the whole sense of somebody having died in the house. So if you want to rescind the sale and you have an opportunity to do that under the law, as this lady seems to suggest, why don't you do that?
I don't think I should have to do that. She's the one that was wrong in this
No,
place.
just
My
a
daughter
minute.
had to move out because he committed suicide. I don't sleep good. She didn't.
If you don't sleep good and your daughter moved out of the house and you don't want to live there anymore, and this realtor seems to say you have a cause of action in the civil court to rescind the contract of sale because she misrepresented to you that somebody died in the house or she failed to disclose it, why don't you do that? If you say that this is all about your trauma and pain and suffering and your daughter had to move out of the house and you don't sleep well and everything else, you have the ability to do that. Isn't that right?
That's true.
Fine. Then that's what they should do. This lady seems very upset. According to her,
Well,
this has very little to do with the little stains on the carpet
They didn't
and everything
find
to
out
do
until
with the
after the
fact that I read the papers. Listen, you don't get this kind of upset over just a couple of stains
It wasn't
on
until
carpet.
a week after we closed escrow that they called me and told me at that time that was I aware that somebody had committed suicide to the property, and I said no, I wasn't.
Honor.
Just a second, yeah. Go ahead.
And when we
Go
do a
ahead.
walkthrough, you do not normally.
What are you poking him for? Stop poking him.
He's supposed to take
Stop
his
poking
turn.
him.
Your Honor, we found out weeks later that my stepdaughter found out from her friend that somebody committed suicide in the mobile home.
So?
Your Honor.
Just a minute. Judge, I'm asking you. So what?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
If you want out of the deal, sue her in civil court to rescind the contract, and if the law is on your side, she will be forced to buy back the property from you. But what are you doing here over stains on a piece of carpet? You should have looked for stains on carpet. You did a walkthrough. That's your problem.
Your
You don't
Honor.
normally move furniture to check behind furniture.
You didn't have to move furniture. All you had to do was pick up a rug, according to
It
her.
was the rainy season.
Oh,
Your
rainy
Honor.
season.
The rug is in front of a chair at the entrance.
Listen, madam, were you the realtor on this case?
Yes, I was.
Then you didn't do your job.
Yes, she did.
You didn't do your job, because if they were buying this place, and one of the reasons that they bought it was because it was in move-in condition, and they wanted the exact same carpet, and they wanted everything perfectly, you should have checked everything. And if there's a little carpet in front of an area, in front of the front door, and I don't care if it was rainy, sneezing, snow, sleet, frogs, locusts, you pick up and you say, listen, I want to see what all this carpet looks like. You didn't do that. And if these people want to get out of the deal, according to their broker, they can do that. Is that right?
That's true.
So do it. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Out the back door to your right, please.
And on the next Judge Judy.
The guy that shot himself fell outside onto the porch. I replaced the porch. I replaced the indoor-outdoor carpeting on the porch. The stains inside are ink stains. They're not even blood stains.
There's a stain on the carpet. Somebody committed suicide.
How would you like walking past blood stains, picturing some guy that killed himself in your living room?
She lied to us.
"22-year-old bartender Jennifer Miller says 25-year-old salesman Daniel Dyer was drunk and assaulted her outside a bar. Daniel claims Jennifer bit him.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 396 on the calendar in the matter of Miller versus Dyer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
I have a lawsuit for assault and battery and injuries, and I have a countersuit for assault by you. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
This occurred in some bar outside in the parking lot of some bar that you were both in.
Yes.
So, Miss Miller, why don't you start?
Well, on the evening of December 4th, 1997, I arrived at the bar
about 8 o'clock maybe. I was meeting some friends. You know, we were going to celebrate because I just got a new job. I just moved back. And we were playing pool when the defendant came in with another friend. I mean, just staggering and yelling, and came up from behind and grabbed me in my crotch. And
You remember that?
No.
Do you remember anything of that evening?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Well, I let it slide. I turned around. I didn't
You let
know
it slide?
Well, not in the sense let it slide. It caught me by surprise. I was there with some friends. I thought it was my friend playing a joke on me. And when I turned around, I saw it was him and another guy, and I asked him, "What did you do that for?" He said, "I'm sorry. I thought you were someone else." Okay, you know, I'm not going to just turn around and hit someone when I wasn't for sure exactly who it was that did it to me at first. A little while later, his friend came up to me and was talking to me and apologized for him. I said, "That's fine, just don't let it happen again." And then he came up and tried to talk to me, and before he could even say anything, I let him know. I said, "Look, I don't know you, but you ever do that again, next time I will hit you." And he said, "Okay, I'm really sorry." And he was talking to me and tried to set his beer down on the table that I was sitting at, and it just went everywhere, all over me, all over the table. So he got up to go get a towel to clean it up and had an argument with some other people that were in the bar. And then they asked him to leave. He was outside, and my friend was talking to him, so I went to the door and told her to come back inside. I put my arm out to reach for her. He slapped my hand away and told me to mind my own business. Okay, so I told him, "You don't know me to mess with me, you know, just leave me alone." I stepped outside the bar to pull her back in, and it's when he slapped me.
Where did he slap you?
In the face.
Go ahead.
But at first, it was more, I guess, because everybody had been drinking. Myself, not nearly as much as he had. But, you know, understandable, you know, when people drink, people do get stupid. You know, I would clearly admit that I shouldn't have stepped outside the bar to pull her in. And as far as that, you know,
he slapped you. What happened next?
I slapped him back, and he grabbed me by my shoulder and picked me up, and his car was there and had me pinned up against the car with my head in between his arm and the car, and I bit him.
On the chest?
Yes, I did.
And then what happened?
He finally let me go, and dummy me, I told him if he wanted to fight, I'd be more than willing to fight. You know, so I took off my jacket and my sweatshirt. I still had a t-shirt and a thermal on. And then we started fighting from there, and he got asked to leave, and I went back inside. They locked him out of the bar.
When you say you started fighting, you started punching each other?
No, slapping each other.
Slapping each other?
Yeah. And when he threw me to the ground, I got up, he fell, and that was it. In a way, it was more like a joke. Everybody was laughing and thought it was a joke, but me and him were being serious. But they made me go back in the bar. They asked him to leave. So he left. A comment was made that he was going to kill me.
Comment by whom?
By him. Oh. As I was going into the bar, there was other patrons. I wasn't the only one that heard him say this.
But you heard him say it,
Yes. And he came back about 10, maybe 15 minutes later in completely different clothing, banging on the door, trying to get in.
Trying to get back into the bar?
Mm-hmm. And he was then confronted. Then at that first time when he did it, the door was open. He came right back in and walked directly towards me, and everybody from the bar got him and made him go back outside. The bartender at the time locked everybody in the bar. So I waited. I figured I only live maybe 200-300 yards away from this place. I'm going to go home. When it was clear, I didn't see him anymore. So I asked the bartender to let me out, and she did. And at that time, he came up from the side of the building and grabbed me and threw me down to the ground. I hit a sidewalk, and it knocked me out. When I woke up maybe 10 seconds later, he was laying on me, and I told him I was going to kill him, and I kneed him in his mouth. And from there, we started fighting, and people started to pull him away from me. But as they pulled him off of me, he had me by my hair, dragging my face along the sidewalk. And then they took me back in the bar. He left again, and then a few minutes later, the police, the fire department, and ambulance showed up.
Was he arrested?
No, he was not.
Why?
They couldn't find him. I have a
Did you file a complaint?
Yes, I did. I signed a 242 PC that night. And the witness that called the police was across the street on a payphone that witnessed this entire thing. He is in my statement.
Okay. I can't hear from a witness who's not here.
I've made attempts to contact him, but I believe he is incarcerated at the time, or at this time.
Okay. Did you go to the doctor or hospital?
Yes, the ambulance took me to the hospital.
Can I see the reports, please?
I have the police report and the doctor bills and the...
Let me see them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
All of a sudden, bam, in the right eye, right here, I was hit from the side. I grabbed her by her forearms right here. They kept pulling and pulling, and they're like, let go of her, let go of her. And I couldn't let go because she was biting me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Miller claims Daniel Dyer assaulted her outside a bar. Daniel is countersuing, claiming Jennifer bit him. He wants money for pain and suffering.
So you both told the police that you didn't want to prosecute the other. You told the police you didn't want him prosecuted, but that you wanted him to pay for the medical bills.
Yes.
All right, sir, let's hear your version of the events, please.
Your Honor, on December 4th, 1997, a friend and I decided to go to my friend's dad's bar, which is Cheers, to play some pool, have a few drinks. My birthday was the next day, so we decided to go out there. We arrived at the bar.
You had been drinking before you got to the bar?
Yes.
And where had you started drinking?
At his house.
What time had you started drinking at his house?
Say approximately 9 or 10 o'clock.
And what time did you get to this bar?
Probably around 10:30 or 11.
So you'd been drinking for a couple of hours before you got to the bar?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, go on.
We walked into the bar, ordered a few drinks.
All right, let's stop right there. How far do you live away from the bar?
Approximately a block.
And you walked there?
No.
So you and your buddy were drinking for a couple of hours. You got into your car and you drove there.
Yes, Your Honor.
Who drove?
I drove, Your Honor.
Let's go.
We decided that we wanted to play pool, walked over to the pool table, put some quarters down on the pool table, waited for our turn to come. It came, so I walked over. I noticed that the girls were there at the table next to the pool table. I asked them if they would like to play a doubles game, so we did. We played a doubles game of pool. I noticed
Did you
later,
play a doubles game of pool with him?
I played with his friend and another elderly man from the bar, not Daniel.
We played a pool game. I noticed that it was getting late. It was going to be time for me to go to work in the morning. I had to work the next morning, and I had to get up fairly early. I motioned to my friend. I said, I want to leave. And we had been talking to Jennifer and her friend, and they said that they were going to leave also, and we all walked outside. My car was parked right outside the front door, so we were standing outside talking. My friend said that he was going to use a phone. He walked over to the phone. It was right to the right of the door. Somehow, Jennifer and I, playingly, somehow, I said, let's box. And she says to me, I would kick your... So I said, it doesn't even matter because I've never hit a woman. At that time, I said, I'm going to get out of here. I got to go to work the next morning. I turned to my friend and said, I'm leaving. He said he was staying. So I turned to open my car door, and all of a sudden, bam, in the right eye, right here, I was hit from the side. I fell into my car, hit myself on the lip, and just stunned. She ran into the bar. And then when I gained my composure, I looked back. She had come back out and looked like she was coming back for more or something. I grabbed her by her forearms right here. We fell to the ground. That's when everybody from the bar rushed out, and they thought I was beating this girl's butt or something. They tried to separate us, and in the process of separating us, she was biting me on my left pectoral muscle. And they kept pulling and pulling, and like, let go of her, let go of her. And I couldn't let go because she was biting me. And finally, we got separated. They told me to leave. They were calling the police and the ambulance, so I left. I went home, went to sleep. Apparently, the police officers came to my door and pounded on it. I didn't hear them. Later on, we tried to reconcile the situation. I got the bar owner to talk with her mother and her about helping pay for these medical bills. After we had discussed that, the police officer came to my house, said that he needed to speak with me. I went to the police department, gave him my statement. He took pictures of me, of my wounds, and later on he contacted me, said that she was dropping the charges, and he also said to me that I would be able to file charges against her for assault and battery.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you have any recollection of leaving the bar, changing your clothes?
I went home, changed my clothes, came back.
Right! You didn't tell me that, sir.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you left that part out.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Jennifer Miller is suing Daniel Dyer for assaulting her outside a bar. Daniel claims he was restraining her in self-defense.
Now, what time did you get to this bar?
I arrived in between 8 and 8:30.
And had you been drinking before you arrived?
No, I hadn't. I had just come from work.
But you started to drink when you got there.
All in all, the total, I mean, during this whole thing, I had 4.5 beers.
Well, little ones or big ones?
Regular 12-ounce bottles. I mean, there's some truth to what he is saying, but a lot of it, no. You know, as far as him, that I just struck him out of the blue for no reason is not true.
One of the things I don't understand, Miss Miller, is, you know, he got to this bar pretty well sauced to begin with. And he continued to drink while he was there. And he was so inebriated that he didn't even hear the police when they were banging on his door. Yeah, so I have to discount a lot of what he said because he was drunk and driving his car. Which means it could have hurt a lot of people in the block that you drove. So you weren't even smart enough to say, I've been drinking, let me walk the block to the bar. But that doesn't excuse your stupid behavior.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
I mean, you stay in the bar, you don't go outside.
Well, when I did leave the bar, I thought it was safe because he had been gone for a little while. And I figured I live next door, I'm going to run home. You know, I'll be fine.
Why didn't you go with somebody else?
Actually, I did. I left with my friend Shannon and her husband. They were walking right behind me as this happened.
Where are they?
They were supposed to be here this morning. I got a call early this morning. Their daughter had to be admitted to the hospital. She's having some type of surgery on her arms.
Well, did Shannon and her husband come to your assistance?
Yes, they did. They were two out of the rest of the bar that was pulling him off of me. They were the first two out, and Shannon was yelling for other people to help her and her husband get him off of me.
And you, Mr. Dyer, have no recollection of leaving the bar, having the door locked, and then trying to come back in. You have no recollection of that, sir?
Of coming back?
Yes.
I did come back.
Do you have any recollection of leaving the bar, changing your clothes?
I went home, changed my clothes, came back.
Right! You didn't tell me that, sir.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you left that part out. What did you go home and change your clothes for?
Excuse me?
What word didn't you understand?
The shirt that I had on had been bitten a hole through.
Yeah.
And so I went home, I changed my shirt.
Right.
Came back.
Why?
Because I wanted to see what was going on.
According to you, you knew what was going on. So you did leave the bar, go home, Did you drive home or did you walk home?
I drove home, Your Honor.
Got into your car, drove home, changed your clothes, and then came back. And what happened when you came back?
I walked in the door. As soon as I walked in, everybody told me to leave, so I got in the car and I left.
No. That's not what happened.
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
No. You left out that whole piece of your story, Mr. Dyer. And the first telling of the story, it all happened at one time. She bit you, you got her off you, the police and ambulance were called, and that was the end of the story. That's what you just told me. Isn't that right, Bert?
That's what I heard.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Your counterclaim, Mr. Dyer, is dismissed. Ms. Miller, you're suing for a lot of money. You want several $1,000s. Your medical bills were $888.93.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You want several $1,000s. You don't get several $1,000s because you're almost as dumb as he is.
Yes. I'll admit.
Almost, but not quite. But if I ever got into a fight, I'd like to have you in my corner.
Thank you.
You have photographs of your injuries?
Yes, but they did not come out as well. I also have the injuries from the police department of Daniel as well.
Where are they?
Right here.
Let me see.
And I did bring one of the shirts that I happened to be wearing that night. The other one got lost somewhere that night.
Is any of this money reimbursed by insurance?
No, it's not.
You bit him pretty good.
Well, when he's laying on top of me, there's nothing else I can do.
That's all right. Do what you got to do. You have any photographs, Mr. Dyer?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see them, please. His are only slightly better than yours, but this shows a beer belly, sir. Shouldn't drink, it's not attractive.
Oh my gosh.
Judgments for the plaintiff in the amount of $888. I assume, Mr. Dyer, that you're not going to drink and drive anymore, are you, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Have a history? Any arrests for DWI?
No, Your Honor.
None?
None.
Very lucky. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Why, I'm very happy with the decision. I feel that what I did say was the truth. And as far as anything else, you know, nobody should be drinking if you can't control your liquor.
I didn't like the decision. I believe that she was lying, and that was not how it happened.
He was flirting, him and his friend both, very much.
I was never flirting, so I wouldn't know.
No man can touch you in places that you don't want him to unless you say yes. It goes back to the same thing as no, and that's it.
Picked the wrong person to pick on that night.
Guys. Your Honor, this is case number 181 on the calendar in the matter of Paré versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Paré, you were attempting to adopt a child. Went through, I assume, since I'm familiar with these adoption proceedings, went through some agencies and finally decided you would go to a lawyer. And the lawyer told you what you were supposed to do, and ultimately you found the defendant, who was pregnant.
That's correct.
Yes.
And you agreed that you were not in a position to raise a child, another child at the time, and you agreed to allow the Parés to adopt your unborn child. Is that right?
Yes.
And you needed some financial assistance?
Yes, which I started receiving in my 3rd month.
From them?
No, from their attorney.
But the money came from them.
Right, they paid the attorney at the end, yes.
And how much money did you receive?
I received roughly $3,000.
Well, we have documents indicating differently.
I'm not certain. I'm not. Don't have an exact amount.
How much money did she receive?
She received approximately $3,400, and then there's another $1,000 fee that was owed
For the lawyers.
from the lawyer.
Which lawyer? Your lawyer?
Our
For our
intermediary.
lawyer, right.
So it was a total of $4,400.
That's correct.
Yes.
That you had out of pocket.
Basically, including the trip down there and all the money that I...
But the money that was, in fact, turned over to the defendant was $3,400.
That's correct.
And then the baby was born, boy or a girl?
Boy.
And the defendant changed her mind.
Yes, she did.
When did she change her mind?
I believe it was Monday, May 11th, but I got down there on the 8th of May and arrived at the hospital, and she told me that there was a problem and that we needed to talk. And basically, she stated that the hospital said that all of our documents weren't there. I was coming from out of state. And that she wasn't real comfortable with the child going home with a nurse. And she said because the
child would have to go home with a nurse if all your documents weren't in place.
Correct. And so we claimed that we were going to take care of everything on Monday. My lawyer and I had a court date set to go and get preliminary adoption papers set up. And I called Miss Christine and told her that if she could please meet us at the courthouse Monday and we could get everything finalized. And I never heard from her. And
by that time, you had changed your mind?
Yes.
What caused you to change your mind?
Having my son for the 4 days. I thought that right after Nicole arrived, I wasn't filled in on everything, I guess.
But she told me while we were there at the hospital that she had already relinquished her rights. But at that point, I was a little bit hysterical and didn't really realize what she had said. And the hospital let her take the child home anyways. And when I met with my lawyer that Sunday night, she showed me all the paperwork that she had already relinquished the child and that the hospital basically gave the child to her and that they weren't supposed to. So, and she knew that, and she knew that she wasn't supposed to take the child with her.
How long had you been trying to have a baby?
My husband and I have been together 12 years.
And this was going to be your first child?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Well, Miss Smith, do you feel as if you're responsible for returning the $3,400 to them?
Yes, I do. But let me re-put that. I know they need their money back and that they should get it. But as far as me giving it to them, I just feel that the circumstances for the adoption, things didn't happen the way that they should have.
Yeah, but you signed a document.
Right, I did.
You have other children?
Yes, I have a daughter.
How old is your daughter?
She's 3 almost.
Are you together with the father of these children?
Yes.
And he's the father of both children?
No.
He's just the father of?
Jaciana.
Of your daughter? Is that right?
Yes.
Was there a separation from him for a period of time?
2 months.
2 months, and it was during that time that you became pregnant with this child?
Yes.
Someone else named as the father of this child?
Yes.
And I have the documents to show that as well.
How does your husband treat this? You married to this man?
No, not yet. He treats him as if he is his own.
Does that mean that he supports him?
Yes.
Does he work?
Yes.
Do you work?
No, not currently.
But he works?
Yes.
And he wants to maintain this family?
Yes.
Well, he's going to have to return this money. And if you've decided to stay home with your children, that's fine. But I can't compensate them for their heartbreak, and you know that you can't either. But it's probably better that it turned out this way at the beginning rather than going through something 6 months down the pike after this little baby boy was home with you, right?
Yes. I know that.
Have you had any success with finding another baby?
Yes, we did.
You did?
Yes, we did.
Oh, that's wonderful. When?
About 25 days after all this occurred, our lawyer contacted us and said that there was a 6-month-old child that was available for adoption.
Boy or girl?
Little boy.
Boy.
So we got a little boy. So we're really happy. He's a great little boy. That's a good boy. Really good boy.
Well, that is wonderful. So
Thank
that
you.
eases
a little bit, but I went through a lot of heartache. I tried to drive home, and I couldn't drive home, and I mean, it took me 5 days to get back to where I live, and it was very difficult.
Well, when a door is closed someplace, a window is open someplace else.
Yes.
And this was a nice window.
Thank God.
Right? And you've got a 6-month-old little baby that probably slept through the night right away.
That's right, yes, he did.
Right?
Yes, he did.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
So at this marina, they have shower facilities, some for boys and some for girls.
That's correct.
And while you were lathering up and washing off,
When I get out to get my towel, there's a little girl standing there.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Smith did not give up her baby as promised to Jacques and Nicole Perret. The Perrets are suing Christine for the money they gave her during her pregnancy.
all right, Miss Smith, you know that they have to be compensated for the money that they gave you. It's not fair, it's not moral, and it's not right or just for them not to be compensated for the money you received. With regard to your attorney's fees, you spent $1,000 for your lawyer. I have a feeling that these people don't have a whole lot of money.
Oh.
So I'm awarding you $3,400, which is the money that was furnished to Miss Smith during the time that she was confined and unable to work and take care of herself, much less her pregnancy. I'm really thrilled that you have a new baby home. I know that that makes appearing in court today much easier for you.
A little bit, yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
And Miss Smith, I wish you well with your new family.
Thank you.
You know, I would assume that this kind of thing is never going to happen again.
I hope not.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's a great boy. He's wonderful. He's been light in our hearts, that's for sure.
I'm just very happy for Nicole and Jacques. Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
He's beautiful.
Thank you.
And now the next case.
All parties on Kinder versus Pearson. Step forward, please.
Rental car company owner Jim Kinder claims electrician Bruce Pearson wrongly reported him to the police for endangering his children.
Mr. Kinder,
Ma'am.
I gather from your complaint that there was a time that you and your wife were briefly separated.
That's correct, in 1995.
And during that time, you were enjoying visitation with your children.
That's correct. I had them every other weekend.
These are your kids?
Yes, they are.
And at that time, you were living on a boat.
27-foot Coronado.
And there were no shower facilities on the boat for the kids. But
Or for me either. They were up in the marina office.
well, you weren't the problem.
Right.
It was the two little girls that were a problem. So at this marina, they have shower facilities, some for boys and some for girls.
That's correct.
But at the time, the two little girls were too young to go into shower facilities by themselves, and you figured it might be a problem if you went into the ladies' shower with them.
I definitely did.
Wise thinking on your part. So you decided to take them into the men's shower.
All three of the kids at the same time.
Then there came a time, sir, when you, who also have a boat at this marina,
Right.
you needed a shower.
Yeah. I'd gotten home from work late, went up to shower.
So you went into the boys' shower room.
Right.
And while you were lathering up and washing off, you saw a little girl
Right.
who didn't have any clothes on,
Right.
and you didn't have any clothes on.
Exactly.
And at that time, you didn't see him in the shower room.
Saw him leave the shower room. There's only 2 stalls. And that he left the little girl in one shower. I assumed it was a little boy. And that he went outside and said, "I'll see you outside." I hopped in the other shower. When I get out to get my towel, there's a little girl standing there. So, you know, I closed the shower door, got back in, toweled off, and they were gone.
And when did this happen, sir?
Last August of '97.
So what you did after you saw this was go to the harbor master.
Right. our dock master, described Jim Kinder, just described the person, because I'd never met him before that. So
And the harbor master gave you a name?
Yeah.
His name?
Right.
And then what did you do?
Went over to the harbor police and made a report.
What kind of a report did you make, sir?
I just told them exactly what happened, you know, and I figured they'd follow up on it, and I assume they did.
So you tell me what happened as a result of this report that Mr. Pearson filed. Because that's what your lawsuit is about, for reporting, falsely reporting this incident. Is that right?
Well, it would be more accurate to say it was either, I think it was with reckless abandon, because we had
But that's what your lawsuit is about.
Right.
What happened as a result of this report?
Right.
Okay.
What happened is that I got a phone call from some friends of mine who were staying on the boat, a married couple, and they said the police had come down looking for me, indicating that there was a matter involving sexual neglect of my children. I called the police immediately. This was on a Saturday morning, about 11 o'clock, and the police said, what is the story with this? We've had this information. I said, my kids have not been down to the boat with me since March of 1996, when my wife and I reconciled. And after the 11 months I was on the boat, I had enjoyed all of the boat I could stand for a while. So we hadn't been down there in a long, long time. Nevertheless, the police said, well, you know, you have to come down right away and bring the kids. And I mean, as a parent, you just have no idea what goes through your mind.
So you started to get a little nervous.
Well, I was both nervous and I was furious. I was shaking. I was so mad. So I took the kids down, and in the car, I told them, just, you know, answer whatever the questions the police ask you, and just tell the truth. So we got there, and the police wanted to separate us and take the kids in a private room, and I would not allow that. But I told the police they could ask whatever questions they wanted to in my presence. And so the police asked the kids how long it had been since they were on the boat, and you know, the kids told them it had been to the summer before or longer. And they asked me, and I said, we haven't been down there in a long, long time, since March of '96. And that was basically...
And then what happened?
Then they said we could go.
And did you go?
Yes.
Did anything else happen as a result of this, sir?
Well, no. I mean, no, not really. I didn't, I mean, my wife was upset. The kids are very resilient. It was like, you know, it wasn't that big a deal to them. But I was really upset, very upset.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
He saw this little girl. She was naked, he was naked. You never know what kind of perverts you're going to meet in the men's bathroom.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Jim Kinder says Bruce Pearson did the wrong thing when he reported him for leaving his young child alone in the men's shower. Bruce says he was shocked.
Now, what makes you think, Mr. Kinder, that the defendant acted recklessly with regard to his complaint? First of all, let me ask you this. You didn't know each other from before?
I wouldn't have recognized him if I'd seen him outside here today.
Okay. Had you ever seen the plaintiff before you claimed that you saw him on that day?
No.
So there's nothing in your history that suggests that this was done out of any evil will?
I think that's a fair statement.
So you think it was done recklessly?
Very recklessly.
Well, then let's explore the issue of recklessness for a moment. Because that is the gravamen of your complaint.
It is.
That is the crux of your complaint.
It is.
That his conduct was reckless. So what did he do? He saw this little girl in the men's shower. She was naked, he was naked. And he felt as if it was irresponsible for whoever's little girl it was to have been left there by a guardian, custodian, parent in the men's bathroom, because you never know what kind of perverts you're going to meet in the men's bathroom. I'm not talking about you, Mr. Pearson. You understand that? But you never know. So you would agree with me, Mr. Kinder, that somebody who would leave a child unattended, a little girl unattended, in a men's shower facility without forewarning anybody that there was a little girl there, please cover up, could we have 5 minutes, was acting irresponsibly. You would agree with that?
I think I would really like to know a few more of the facts, but essentially I think that would be reckless, yes.
You think it would be reckless. So we've accomplished that. Now, he saw a little girl in there. So what did he do? He didn't know who the person was, right?
Right.
So you went to speak to someone who was in charge.
Exactly.
And you described the person who you saw.
Right.
And for the purposes of this proceeding, although I'm not taking it for the truth of the statement, because that would be hearsay, the harbor master, or the, what do they call it?
The dock master.
Dock master.
Yeah.
Gave you the plaintiff's name.
Yeah, he told me, he goes, Kinder doing that again.
And he gave you his whole name.
Yeah.
But you had never seen him there.
Never.
Which seems to support his statement that he didn't spend time at the boat for a long time. Right?
Right.
Okay. But the boatmaster gave your name, sir.
Because I had all 3 kids in the men's room in 1995, 2 years before, 2 years and 3 months before.
But Mr. Kinder, we're talking about your allegation of recklessness. He did what was responsible. I think it would have been a tragedy if he did nothing. Too many people close their eyes to people acting irresponsibly with children.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay. So, assuming that he acted perhaps negligently, not recklessly, but negligently then in making the call, we would even get to the issue of damages here. Now, according to you, kids are pretty resilient. You took the kids down, they asked a few questions, and the matter was over. So you had a period of a day or two when you were both nervous and angry.
It wasn't pretty to see my wife crying about it.
Well, that's not pretty. But she looks as if she got over it. It's the children that would concern me. And according to you, the children, they bounced back. They were asked a couple of questions, and nothing came of it.
That's correct.
Wasn't reported to Child Protective Services. You weren't listed in the State Central Registry of Child Abuse and Neglect Perpetrators, right?
As far as I know.
It was over, right?
Right.
So's this case. Go home, take your gorgeous family home, sir. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, World Court reporter Shannon Riley says former friend, 38-year-old glassworker Brian Gottlieb, owes her for taking care of his children while he was in prison for 6 months.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 484 on the calendar in the matter of Riley versus Gottlieb. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Was he your boyfriend the time he was incarcerated?
He wasn't my boyfriend. We dated casually, and we were very good friends. We never had a defined relationship between us as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Do you have children?
I have one son.
But he has 2 children, is that right?
That's correct.
How old are your children?
7 and 8.
And you have custody of your children?
Yes.
Where's their mother?
She's not in the picture. She's in Wisconsin now.
But you've been awarded custody of the children by a court.
It's nothing formal like that. No, it's just always been that I've taken care of the kids. She disappeared kind of when they were very young.
And you went to jail. What'd you go to jail for?
For drug-related offenses.
You were sentenced to 6 months? Or you were sentenced
I was
to
sentenced longer. I went into a drug rehab, which I've since graduated from, and I now have 13 months sober, by the way.
How long were you in jail?
For a month.
1 month?
5 or 6 weeks, 4, 5, 6 weeks, yes.
Is that all he was in jail for? 4, 5, or 6 weeks?
He was arrested, I believe, December 5th. He was released into the recovery house approximately January 21st.
Okay. And when you were in the recovery house, where were your children?
They were with Shannon.
And how long did you stay in the recovery house?
Till May.
All right, so it was 6 months
Yes,
that
yes,
you
it
took
was.
care of your children.
Yes, it was.
Now, when you were arrested, did he call you from jail and say, please go take care of my kids? How did that come about?
His friend came to me that night and said, Brian's been arrested, he's in jail. So the next day I went down and I said, what happened? and he told me what happened. And he was not in a very good frame of mind because he'd
Where
been
were
up
his
all night.
children the night before?
They happened to be with their mother visiting their grandparents.
In Wisconsin.
Right.
She comes in and out of the picture.
But the children also have grandparents,
Yes.
maternal grandparents,
Yes.
in Wisconsin.
Yes.
So would you mind telling me why you ended up taking care of the children for 6 months while he was in jail and in this program, which is what your lawsuit is about? You want to be compensated for that?
I asked him what he was going to do with the children. He said he didn't know. Now, prior to this, before he was arrested, his mother started calling me. She said, if you take the children, I'm scared that something's going to happen to them. I will completely support the children. Now, this is before he was put in jail. So at this time, when he was arrested and put in jail, I said that I would watch them for at least till we found out what was going to happen to him.
Mm-hmm.
He said he couldn't think of a better place for his kids to be.
So your arrangement, your financial arrangement, was not with him, but was with his mother.
At that time, correct.
Well, I have a lot of questions, but let's start with this. When do you claim your financial arrangement became one with him?
Okay, our financial arrangement, his mother had sent me a check for, I believe it was $125. And she had sent some Christmas presents, clothes for the kids and whatnot. I then realized she said that she couldn't help anymore. Approximately, I'd say the second week in February.
While he was in the program?
He's in recovery. I said to him, I can't financially do this by myself. I need some help. He called me on February 24th. He says, they have given me permission to go to work early for the sole purpose of contributing to the boys.
Okay. And did you, in fact, get a job?
Yes, I did.
When?
I couldn't tell you, Your Honor. Probably shortly thereafter.
Okay. Now, so you have to understand that you started to take care of the children in December?
I took them December 11th, I believe.
By the way, my next question is, I have to backtrack a minute. If the children were with their mother and their grandmother in Wisconsin, how did you manage to get them back here?
Because she was coming back, and he was supposed to pick her up at the airport.
Yes.
So we went, me and his friend, we went down to the airport.
Did you tell her that he was in jail?
Yep, we told her. She had no problem with the kids coming with me.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
Sure
That's
is.
why I felt so bad for the kids, because I knew what kind.
So the mother was made aware of the fact that the children would not be living with their father, who was currently in drug rehab, but would be living with a stranger.
Correct.
A nice stranger, but a stranger.
Correct.
Okay. So that was in December.
Right.
December, January, and February, you had no financial arrangement with him. Your financial arrangement with him took place the end of February with him.
Right.
When he said he was going to get a job and start supporting the children. So after March, sir, how much money did you give her for the children?
You know, probably not as much as I should have. However, I never kept track of. It was cash. It was always cash. I remember there was a time I gave her $500 in cash. There was many times where I gave her under $100 in cash.
How much money did he give you in total for the children?
He gave me at one time $40. Now, he gave me $500 on May 29th after our verbal agreement of him paying me back my out-of-pocket expenses for the time that I had them.
How much did you physically spend, supporting the children from the time that you had them?
It's hard for me to give an amount. I did everything that a mother would do.
Okay, let me explain something to you. You have to look at there are two ways to look at a case like this. One is a contract.
Right.
All right? Now, you didn't have any sort of a fixed financial contract with him.
Correct.
Really, ever. He did, in fact, your agreement was with his mother, which he reneged on. But you did have some sort of an arrangement with him that he acknowledged that he would contribute to the support of the children starting in beginning of March when he went to work. Now, there was never a fixed amount of how much that would be. You say that you should be compensated as if it was a child support order. But there was no contract, but he is responsible as a parent to pay for necessaries for his children.
Correct.
Necessaries. Now, necessaries are what you actually spent for the children. They were with you for a period of 6 months. He is responsible for 6 months' worth of necessaries for the children. Now, don't you acknowledge that you are, sir?
Yes, I do.
Well, you say, yes, I do, but your answer sort of belies that. You say, if I knew she was going to charge me, I would have let the kids stay with their godparents. That's what you say in your answer.
Yes, that is correct. I did say that in my answer.
Well, didn't you want the children to stay in the best possible place?
Yes, and believe me, I'm very grateful for what Shannon did, and she was everything as a mother. She's as much as a mother to them as anybody could be. There's no doubt about that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
he backed up, and I guess because he knows karate, he said, "Feel the power of Raymond," and then I tripped, and he got on top of me and choked me, and then that's when Scott picked him off me, and then we left.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shannon Riley claims former friend Brian Gottlieb owes her for taking care of his kids while he was in prison.
How much are you earning now, sir?
$900 a week.
$900 a week? Is that
Yes.
what you take home?
Yeah, no, that's what I gross.
What do you take home?
About $750 or so.
And who do you work for now?
I work for a glass company in Glendale.
And how long have you been working for them?
Since May, since around May, June.
Is that when you took the children back from her?
Yes, that's correct.
And you gave her $500 in May or June?
May 29th.
Think she spent $500 a month taking care of your children?
I think at least, probably, yes.
She bought them clothes?
She did everything. She bought them clothes and school supplies and such, yes.
Well, you're responsible for that. Why should she pay for that? Did you have to ask him for this more than once?
It took me about 3 times to pin it down to a conversation. He says, let me start. I know what it is. You need money. I know I need to be contributing to the boys. He goes, now I'm making X amount of dollars.
This was in May?
This was in May. He says, so what I'll do is I'll give you like $700 out of one check, $200 out of another. That way, I'm able to save money for an apartment when I have to get out of the recovery house. I said to him, it's too late. You've taken advantage of me. You're not credible with me anymore. What you say, I'm being financially devastated at this point. Not to mind you, I was emotionally and physically exhausted. So I said to him, look, you're going to have to find a place for the boys. I'm going to keep them until June 19th because so that they can go to school. I'm not going to disrupt their lives any more than they already have been. I said, you need to pay me back just for my out-of-pocket expenses. I never am charging him. I'm not charging him for me caring for them. That's all a gift. It's just strictly his financial responsibility. I said, you give me a fair amount on what you think this is fair. He said, I have no idea. He said, what do you think is fair? I said, well, I had your fees fed into the child court system, and this is what you would be required to pay if you were paying child support.
Okay. How much are you requesting in your lawsuit?
He's made me 3 payments, so the balance owing from that is $2,983.
It's a bargain.
It averages out to $12 per kid a day.
It's a bargain.
I agree.
Can't board a pet for that. You should pay it and get down and kiss her feet, but do that not in my presence. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,983. That's all.
Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
I'm just very happy that it's over with. I'm sorry that I had to even have a lawsuit against him because I don't want it to tear apart because I really do care a lot about the boys and I do care about him as a friend.
Shannon did a wonderful thing for me. I'm grateful. Without her, who knows where my kids would be.
When you have 2 kids that call you mom, it's a very difficult situation. He's a wonderful father when he is clean. I believe that, and I just want to see him and his boys live a nice, healthy life and not have these kind of problems in their lives anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties on Aguilera versus Borland. Step forward, please.
23-year-old hospital worker Raymond Aguilera claims his passenger, 18-year-old student Brian Borland, made him crash his car. Brian says Raymond was driving drunk.
Mr. Aguilera, you claim that the defendant caused you to have an accident with your car.
Yes.
You were driving.
Yes.
You want him to pay for the damage.
Yes.
He says it was your fault. So let's start at the beginning. Who was in the car at the time?
Me, my brother, Brian, and the 2 witnesses.
And these 2 people?
Yes.
He was sitting in the front passenger seat?
Yes, he was.
Where were you going?
We were deciding to go out and eat at the time. And
Where had you been?
we were coming from a birthday party.
And had you been drinking?
No.
Had he been drinking?
Yes.
Anybody else drinking?
None.
You drinking? Sit up.
Yeah.
Court, sit. Good. Had you been drinking?
Yeah, a little.
Yes. Had you been drinking?
Yes.
Not really, no.
Hmm?
No.
You hadn't been. Good for you. Okay. So what happened? You're on your way from a birthday party to get something to eat. I guess they didn't have food at this birthday party?
Very little bit. Didn't have much.
Okay. What happened?
Well, as I was driving, we're deciding if we should go get something to eat, and I didn't want to. And I just wanted to go home. So as on our way back to drop him off, he gets very upset because we're not going to go get anything to eat, so he puts his hand on my steering wheel. I then grabbed it, and I throw it off the steering wheel, and I told him to knock it off, you know. And then I have the club, which is next to me, which goes on the steering wheel, so he grabs it and he shoves it in my face. At that time, my action was that I grabbed it before he did it again with one hand on the steering wheel, and there was a struggle going on. While the struggle was going on, he hit me one more time, and then I tried to go towards the right, and when I went towards the right, the car shifted to the right and hit the curb.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you believe that he was drunk and you stopped at a red light, and if you're concerned, then what you do is you take your hand and you open up the car door and you say, "You're drunk. I'm not driving with you."
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Raymond Aguilera is suing his passenger, Brian Borland, for making him crash his car.
What kind of damage was done to your car?
The cross member bar was damaged.
I have no idea what that is.
Okay,
Give me
what's
a dollar amount.
Huh?
How much did it cost to fix it?
It was $708. I had the receipt for that. And
All
then
right.
the towing.
Good. Bert, could I see the receipt, please? All right, Mr. Borland, let's hear your version of these events, sir.
After we were coming from the party, we got in the car. He was drinking. We didn't know it at the time. We didn't know it at the time that he was drinking. We were driving around to go get something to eat, but he wanted to go to another party. So we wanted to get something to eat. We were at a stoplight, and he was ignoring me. I kept saying, you know, I could tell he was drunk by the way he was talking. So I wanted to go get something to eat. We were stopped at the stoplight, and he was ignoring me, so I poked him in his leg with the club. He threw it back. He grabbed the club, threw it back, and then hit me in the face 3 times. I couldn't hit him because I couldn't get, you know, I didn't want to hit him, but I wouldn't be able to hit him, you know. So when it turned green, he like hit me 3 or 4 times. Then I said, we were driving, and I said, you do that again, you know, I'm going to beat your... He was so mad, he wanted to fight me right there or get me out of the car. He wasn't thinking, threw the car right in the curb, going like 30, 40 miles an hour. Threw the car into the curb, and then it hit the curb real hard, so we got out. He wanted me to get out, and I was like, no, I don't want to get out because he was mad. So he was telling me, get out. So finally I got out. Then we started fighting. He hit me in the jaw as soon as I got out of the car. So I took my shirt off, ready to fight him. We wrestled around. When we got loose, he backed up, and I guess because he knows karate, he kicked me in the leg and said, feel the power of Raymond. Then he said, ooh, you know that hurted. Then we wrestled some more, and then I tripped, and he got on top of me and choked me. And then that's when Scott picked him off me, and then we left. And we knew the car wasn't drivable, so we left him there.
All right. So this whole thing started, sir, because according to you, you picked up the club and poked him in the leg with it.
Because he was ignoring me. But we weren't driving.
Just a second. That's how it started.
Yeah.
He was ignoring you, and you didn't like that because you wanted to go get something to eat. And he didn't want to go get something to eat, so you picked up the club and you hit him with it. Right?
We wanted to get something to eat because we could tell that he was drunk, and we wanted to just calm down and just take a break.
Why didn't you listen to me? Now you're making it up as you go along.
No, I'm not.
Because if you've believed that he was drunk and you stopped at a red light, and if you're concerned, then what you do is you get out of the car and you leave.
He was ignoring me. That's why I poked him in the first place, because he was ignoring me.
You don't have to poke him with a club.
I know.
You take your hand
Yeah.
and you open up the car door and you say, you're drunk. I'm not driving with you. And you get out just as you did when the car was no longer drivable. Because it was in the same area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you get home?
We walked.
So, as soon as you realized that he was ignoring you and he wasn't going out to eat, open the car door, go home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
This whole problem started because you hit him with the club. That's what he says.
Your Honor, he's an ADD person who's very hyper and very, I told him to knock it off the first time, and he kept on going at it. And then after I hit the curb, at first I thought it was a flat tire. I went out to look. It wasn't, so I was thinking, well, maybe my car can continue, but it wasn't, so I had to call a tow truck.
Now, I'm going to ask you this question, sir. Had you had anything to drink that night?
No, I haven't. I was the designated driver. I know that they're my responsibility in the car. As a matter of fact, the cops showed up. And when they came up, because I guess during the fight, a business owner there was there during that night, had called the cops, and they came and here are the numbers and the incident number of them.
Okay, so the police didn't respond to the scene?
Yeah, they did.
Were you given a ticket for driving?
No.
Under the influence?
Nope.
You're suing him for 773?
Actually, 863.17.
Well, I know that that's what this adds up to, sir, but you're not very good in math.
Well, see,
because your lawsuit says 773.
Right, because I had not paid for the towing yet, because I had to pay $700 to get my car out, and so I couldn't pay for the towing until just recently, and that's when I got a receipt for it.
Mr. Aguilera, he's on notice that you are suing for $773. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell me, sir? Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $773. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was cool. It was all right. Everything went planned. I should have got the extra for the towing, but
He was drunk when he was driving, and that was what it was all about. He was drunk. That's why he crashed his car.
He could.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, it's case number 536 on the calendar in the matter of French Riley versus Riley. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, be seated.
Mrs. Riley, according to your papers, you and the defendant have known each other a very long time. You have a child together, and within the past year and a half, after a long separation, you married. Is that right?
Yes.
How old is the child you have together?
She's 9, almost 10.
You were in the process of getting a divorce, and your lawsuit here says that you want him to pay some of the bills that were accumulated during the marriage. So my first question to you is, how far along are you in the divorce process?
I filed originally on the 30th of December. He was served on January 27th.
Do you have a lawyer?
No, I'm representing myself.
Do you have a lawyer?
No, ma'am.
Why did you choose this route of coming to small claims court?
If I had asked for any assets when I filed divorce papers, it would have been a long, messy, expensive trial, and I don't have the means for it, and I don't believe he does either.
That's not unreasonable. This way, it's really an uncontested situation. I assume you are consenting to the divorce, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, Miss Riley, how much of a debt was built up during the course of your brief marriage, since you were married in '97?
Well, the debt that we refer to, I'm referring to a business that we started together. Much of everything I made went into this business. I believe I should get a portion of that business back. So the debts were for the business debts.
Okay, what kind of business is this?
It's a jewelry, antique collectibles, military collectibles kind of business.
Was that business started, sir, when you were married?
This was actually started a lot longer before I met her. I've been doing this for almost 20 years.
Well, when had you been doing it as a business?
Well, we started, when we got back together, we started, doing the swap meets and sort of things like that.
As a business?
As a business.
All right, so how much was invested in this business?
Well, I can't give you an exact estimate because it varies on the weekends. It would work out. Sometimes it would work out to...
I guarantee you, Mr. Riley, she can tell me how much was invested.
I'm sure she will.
Good. So if you don't know, she's going to tell me.
Yeah, I'm sure she will.
I approximate it to be about $10,000.
Don't approximate. You're going to have to show me.
Okay, I have invoices that I've typed up and drawn up, and if I may say so, the business was started while we were married. He had been doing the...
I understand that he was doing it sort of as a hobby, but after you you were married, you started doing it as an actual business.
Well, actually, what happened was we started doing this. It was a hobby in the beginning, but then she realized how lucrative this could have been. I would make a lot of money just in front of my house, and then I would take a portion of that and go reinvest. Because my job, where I was working...
Reinvest in other product that you were selling.
Because
Okay.
my job wasn't paying enough.
Okay. Let me go through some of these bills, because these are not receipts or anything else. So bank checks, this is what you've typed up.
Yes, that's an invoice.
Okay.
Right.
Jewelry, equipment, tools, military paraphernalia, antiques, and collectibles. How much would you estimate, sir, that the two of you, while you were married, spent on that?
Well, it's not like what we spent. It was like whatever I earned, I gave half towards the house. I took the other half and reinvested it.
Miss Riley, were you working outside the house?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what did you do with your paycheck?
I was working two jobs. I work a day job teaching, and I was teaching adult ed, and everything I made went into paying the living expenses, which were very high, and any extra that we had went toward the business.
Okay, but you were paying the expenses on the house, along with the half that he was giving you?
He was giving me half of his day job only, and it was a minimum paying job, and the most he's ever contributed is $400 a month, period.
That's not true, Your Honor.
All
That's
right,
not
let
true.
us assume, taking your best case scenario, Mr. Riley, what you said is you took half of what you earned from the business and gave it to your wife for living expenses to contribute, and the other half you put back into your business.
Right.
Right? And since you've separated, you've kept all of the assets of the business. Is that correct? Have you given her any of the assets of the business?
No, Your Honor.
So then you either kept the assets of the business or you sold the assets of the business in these swap meets. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So that she's taking what she earns and she's putting it in the community kitty. You're taking half of what you earn from the business and putting it in the community kitty, and the other half you are reinvesting in the business, which you now have solely. Do you understand what I'm
Yes, Your
saying
Honor.
to you? Good, because I want it to be crystal clear. Then she is entitled to half of the assets of the business. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, what is left as far as assets in the business?
Not really much, because right now I'm in the process of trying to find a job because, you know, I don't have steady income to continue reinvesting.
So you don't have anything left?
No.
Where is it all?
It's sold to different collectors at the swap meets.
Does he have anything left?
I believe he did. I think the most expensive stuff was the equipment, the jewelry equipment to manufacture the jewelry, like the bench and polishing machine, and I have a list right here.
Okay,
that
the
totals up to
jewelry
$4,000.
equipment, do you still have?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And tools.
Okay, and
I
you're
have
not...
receipts saying that I paid for all that.
Well, no, you paid for all of that, sir, with community property.
Okay, right.
You can't take hers to pay joint bills and yours to pay you, and then say, well, the marriage is over now. This is mine because I paid for it. It doesn't work that way.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Listen to me, Mr. Riley, unless you're a jerk, which is very possible, from what you tell me, you took half your pay from Macy's and put it back in your business. You took half the money you made from your business, you put back in your business, and now you have no business.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Leona French Riley claims her estranged husband, Stan Riley, owes her $5,000 for supporting his jewelry business.
So The main asset of the business, according to you at this point, is the jewelry equipment.
That was the most expensive part, yes.
And how much was paid for that? You have the receipt?
Yeah, I have all the receipts.
Good. Tell me what was paid for it.
Okay, one receipt was for $187.27. One was for $16.
$1,872?
Yes.
Go ahead, next.
$16.24.
$16.24?
Yes, ma'am.
$16.
24 cents.
24 cents, yes.
Another receipt's $339.
Just a second, let's go slowly. Heard? $1,872. $16.24.
No. You got that wrong, ma'am. It's $187.24. The first receipt.
187.
187.
Then let's talk English, sir.
Okay.
187.
$16.24.
$16. Listen to me.
$16.
$16.24.
Yes, ma'am.
$16.24. What's next?
$339.36. $40.
He's still doing it. Watch his fingers. What's next?
Ready? $40.59. And the other one's $267.11. And that is it.
What does that add up to?
$850.54.
Okay. Now, what other collectibles do you have?
I have none.
You have none?
None.
So it's really the machinery that you're talking about, is it?
He had a lot.
Yeah, I had a storage place.
I'm talking about the total amount we accumulated while we were married.
Well, you can't do the total amount
Well,
you accumulated while you were married, Miss Riley, because what we have to do now is distribute the assets that are remaining of the marriage. You're not going to get back everything you put into it.
I understand that.
All right, so let's not be silly about that. I have to have some indication of what's left in the business.
The only thing that's left is the equipment.
Let's go through the next thing that you have here on the list. Leased van usage. What is that?
My husband used, he started using my van in March, and he started using the van excessively.
Oh, Miss Riley, you're barking up the wrong tree here.
Well, maybe so, Your Honor, but I did let him use it. It's way over its mileage. I'm going to have to pay about $2,000 when I return it in July.
Oh, okay, so then let's talk about the overage with regard to mileage, because that is a marital debt. But I need a figure. How much over mileage are you now?
About 9,000.
How long have you been separated, by the way?
Since October.
What was the mileage overage in October?
Over? It was about 3,000.
It had just turned to 3,000. And that's when she was supposed to be turning it back in.
So what you're telling me is at the time of the separation, there were no excess miles on the van?
There was 3,000 over 30,000 miles. I was allocated 30,000 for 2 years. We hit 30,000 at the very end of August.
Okay, so you were 3,000 over. And how much per mile?
He said 15 cents.
What is it, Bird? 3,000, 15 cents. How much?
$450.
What's next? Living expenses, unpaid. What does that mean?
That means I had to pay everything while he put all of his money into his business.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I could show.
That's not
I have a
true.
list of the living expenses every
Miss
month.
Riley, let us assume that what you say is true. That while you were married, while you were together for this year or year and a half, you paid all the living expenses.
Pretty
right?
much, yes.
You paid all the living expenses. And what you're telling me is now you want to be reimbursed for half the living expenses. That's what you say here.
I'm saying I put the cumulative amount that I listed here toward the business that we started, my husband and I, together. And now that we're divorcing, I would like just a small portion of that back.
You don't get it back. You get what the value of the business is. But you're not entitled to what you put into it. That's what people do when they get married. They put money in hoping to build something for the better.
Your Honor, can I say one thing? You know, at the time when we were together, I was working. I was working at Macy's, you know, for practically nothing. But when I got my check, I gave her half of it because I knew that I wasn't making any kind of money that she was making.
Why don't you give her the whole thing?
What?
What do you mean what? What word didn't you understand?
Because what I'm trying to say is I wanted just like a half of it to try to reinvest so that I can bring more money in.
Mr. Riley.
She was getting a lot more money than I was.
Mr. Riley, I understand that your wife was working 2 jobs and making a lot more money than you were.
A lot more.
You kept half of yours for yourself. You kept half of your business. You kept half. Listen to me, Mr. Riley, unless you're a jerk, which is very possible. From what you tell me, you took half your pay from Macy's and put it back in your business. You took half the money you made from your business, you put back in your business, and now you have no business. All you have left is the equipment. That makes you either a jerk or a very poor businessman. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So if you think I believe you, you're wrong.
Amen.
Your Honor, may I say that he would give half, which was $400 a month, but that's 50%, and I would have to give 100%
Miss
more.
Riley,
and
the first time he did that to me, listen to me, the first time or the second time that my husband would do that to me and said, you put all your money in to pay our bills, I'm going to put in half of mine, which doesn't amount to a quarter of what you're putting in, I would have shown him the door. You chose, however, this was your choice. You chose to stay with him and to keep investing and to tolerate him giving you half of his pay and keeping half of his pay. You chose to do that.
I wasn't happy.
You don't get paid for being stupid.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I watched him. He tried. He really tried. And he's actually very good at what he does. I was willing to support him as a wife, stand behind him while he got the business started. But I didn't know it was going to end so awful.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Leona French Riley is suing her estranged husband, Stan Riley, for money she put into his business. Stan says his business wasn't good.
The assets of the business that you are able to establish, even though I don't necessarily believe, as a matter of fact, I really don't believe you, Mr. Riley, it came to $850.54. And I believe, sir, that you still have, since $4,000 was put into the business, according to her, over the time that you were together, both of you, probably if I believed you more because you put all this money back into the business, I think that the assets of the business are somewhat closer to $2,000. You only have to give her half of that, which is $1,000. And that the mileage on the car was $450, and that's $225 because you take that in half. That's a liability. So you owe her $1,000 from the business, and the overage that she's going to have to pay is another $225 from your share. The other share is hers because it's community debt. Do you understand that? It's a community debt. $1,225. Ms. Riley? Some men support women, some women support men. You chose to be on the wrong end of that. But it was your choice.
Your Honor, I was willing to sacrifice for the sake of the business. I understand that my husband was underemployed. I understand that he had a trade in it, and he just wasn't able to break into the jewelry field. I watched him. He tried. He really tried. And he's actually very good at what he does. I was willing to support him as a wife, stand behind him while he got the business started. But I didn't know it was going to end so awful.
It's awful.
Yes.
It's awful. It's awful. But during the time that you were together and making these investments, these were not loans. These were a joint obligation. And it's very hard for any court in a divorce situation to figure out, in a business like this, what's left. What little tchotchkes left does he have that he purchased, the collectible stuff? Now, we've gone through all of the bills for the jewelry equipment, and I have tacked on a substantial amount of money for what I probably believe is at least what he has left in inventory. The rest of your living expenses, Ms. Riley, you're not going to get back. No divorce works that way.
We did not discuss the truck loan that I made to him.
For a different truck that he has?
It's the truck that he has right now. I made him a loan for $1,000 for a truck.
When?
During this, in August. Actually, I got it at the end of August, September. He promised to pay it back.
Did you promise to pay back a truck loan to her?
Again, it was a part of the business.
It was a promise.
We invested into the business.
Well, tell me how it came about, Miss Riley. Tell me how it came about that you, while you were married, made this loan to him.
It's all about money to her. This is what it's about.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Need help in a divorce? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Tell me about how this loan came about. I wanted to hear it.
Stan was using the van excessively during the time we were married. Like I said,
You told me that.
Weekends, right? And as a result, the two girls and I were not able to use the van very much. So once we acquired all the major jewelry, equipment, and tools, which I have a listing of right here, he decided he needed his own vehicle. And from that point on, he started saving everything that he earned, wouldn't contribute anything else, started saving everything for the sake of his truck. For 2 months, he saved everything.
Is that right, sir? Were you saving up? Were you saving up for a down payment on your van?
Yes, on a truck, yes.
On a truck.
But I still was, what money I did earn, I still was helping out towards some of the bills.
How much did you put down on the truck?
I paid out.
You paid out the whole thing?
The whole thing.
And how much did you pay for the van?
$3,500.
$3,500.
$3,500.
Okay. And when was that?
Oh, I don't know, about 6, 7 months ago.
September 6th.
All right.
He got insured on September.
Is there any other marital asset that we haven't discussed other than the truck?
I don't know, she probably have a whole list of stuff. So.
Is there any other? Miss Riley.
I gave the list to you.
No. Is there any other marital asset that we haven't discussed?
No, just the truck. The truck was the last.
You sure?
Fine. Shh. The truck is a marital asset. Half of $3,500.
$1,750.
$1,750 and $1,225.
$2,975.
$2,975. Do you understand? Those are your assets. Half of them belong to her. $2,975 for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He didn't like to be a father. He didn't like to be a husband. He's a wild man. He's on the streets. It was a lifestyle that was just not suited for him.
Whatever she wanted me to be, that's the way it was going to be. And I just didn't want to be that way. I'm a self-individual person.
Now, this is case number 533 on the calendar in the matter of Carnes versus Hernandez.
Thank you very much, sir.
Quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Carnes, you state that the defendant, who is a former boyfriend of yours, assaulted you in a parking lot of a restaurant.
Yes, sir.
A club. You were hospitalized and were out of work for 2 weeks as a result of that assault. You wanted to pay for your medical bills and be compensated for the weeks that you were out of work. Mr. Hernandez says you tripped, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's start from, you dated for a while and then, according to this, stopped dating.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
But agreed to go out on a dinner date.
Yes.
So where did you go?
Well, 2 weeks before that, I had told him I didn't want to see him anymore, and he had called me and asked me to go out, and I told him no, and he showed up at the place that we always go to, and he just like stood 20 feet away and just stared at me, and finally I went over and I told him either talk to me or leave, and he left. And the next weekend, the same exact thing happened again, but this time he came up and asked me if he could take me out for my birthday. I told him no, that I had already had plans, and he said, can I take you out the weekend before just to eat? So I agreed. We went and ate, and then afterwards he said, do you want to just go up to the beach club? So I said, okay. My friend Sandy was at home, can we go pick her up? It was fine. We got there.
You picked Sandy up?
We went and picked Sandy up, yes, ma'am. And we just got there, we ordered a beer, we went to go dance, and then Sandy came out on the dance floor with her friend, and I noticed our purses were unattended. So as soon as the song was over, I told Rudy I wanted to go and sit down until Sandy got done. Well, he grabbed my arm. He told me, no, I'm not done dancing yet. And he was standing to where I couldn't get back to the purses, but slowly I just like turned so he would face me, and when he got there, I went to the table. And then he came to the table. He was, being grumpy and stuff. And Dave the bouncer saw that, so he came over and he said, well, let's go outside and walk a little bit and calm down. So we went and we walked around the parking lot.
Who went around?
The three of us, the bouncer, Rudy, and myself. And we were by Rudy's car. It was parked in front. And Dave said he had to go back inside.
So the bouncer left?
Yeah, the bouncer left. And Rudy was just saying the same things, you know, I don't want us to break up, things like that. Well, I just said, I don't want to talk anymore. I just want to go back inside. Well, then he grabbed me by the arms and he pulled me into him. And I said, let go of me. I want to go back inside. He says, no. He says, you're not going anywhere except I'm taking you to my house and I'm going to, he said. And I said, let me go. And right at that time, Sandy came out. And he told her, it's none of her business, get back inside and everything. And I told her, no, don't go anywhere. Well, those two started arguing, and he loosened his grip on me. And when he did, that's when I started to walk towards her, and I saw him right behind me. So I just stopped, and I said, no, just stop, you know, no more of this. This is, you know, this is crazy. And he just brought his arms up, and he just shoved me, and I landed on the ground. I was unconscious. And
so he put his arms on you and pushed you backwards?
Yeah, he shoved me, and I flew.
All right. You have hospital records?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
May I see them, please?
And I made a list on the front for you.
Do you have any medical insurance?
No, ma'am.
Did you go to the hospital right away?
The ambulance took me, yes, ma'am.
Did you stay in the hospital overnight?
No.
Why not?
Well, it happened about 12 at night, I believe, and I went home. It was daylight. It was 6 in the morning when they released me. And then I was having problems after that, so I had to return again.
Within the week?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you also have an admission date a month later in November.
Yes, I was
What
still,
was that?
it was a bad concussion, and I was still having a lot of dizzy and sick and things, so I had to go back, and they gave me some medication to help.
How long were you out of work?
I was out of work 2 weeks, and then when I did go back, they only gave me half the amount of work because it took a long time to get over the concussion.
How much were you paid a week?
$200.
Okay. Mr. Hernandez, let me hear your version of the events, sir.
Yes, I was we went outside, like she said, about the bouncer. And he says, well, there's going to be no arguments inside the bar.
What were you arguing with her about inside the
Well,
club?
we just wanted to talk about the relationship between each other.
So what were you...
I didn't want to work, and I want to know why I didn't want to work.
So you, inside the club,
Yes.
you were having this heated discussion with her about why the relationship wasn't working.
Right.
That's when the bouncer came over.
And he told us the next escort us out, and he goes, you guys handle it like adults. And I said, okay, fine. So when she was trying to talk to me, she walked away from me. But I didn't grab her like she said. I grabbed her gently, but she kept on pulling. I grabbed, and then I just let her go because she was pulling, as it is. So after that, we still didn't come to an agreement. She walked to my car, and then we were going to talk again. It didn't come out that way. So I was going to reach in for my keys in my pocket. When I reached in my pocket, then I saw her coming at me with full blast. At me. She dislocated my thumb. I have no records on this. I was in jail. I had to pop it back in place for myself. It was all swollen for almost, I'll say, about a month and a half. Still couldn't move it. That's when she pushed me, and then I pushed her back, but she tripped over a concrete inside a parking lot. She tripped over it, but I didn't push her that hard. She tripped it.
You didn't push her that hard?
No, I did not push her that hard.
Did anything happen other than you pushing her immediately before she fell backwards?
We were just talking to each other. That's
No,
it.
but immediately before nothing happened. I mean, it didn't start raining. There wasn't a bolt of lightning. There weren't frogs, or a dog didn't come in the path.
No.
The reason she fell is because you pushed her, right?
I pushed her, yes, but
All
I
right.
didn't know how
So the
close she was
reason
to-
she fell is because you pushed her. Now you say you didn't push her that hard,
No, I didn't.
but you evidently pushed her hard enough so that she tripped and fell. Right? It wasn't.
Yeah, she tripped.
There was no
I
intervening
pushed her.
act.
I mean, I did, yes.
All right. Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was flying. He didn't just tap her. I mean, she went flying. She ended up from the back of the car to the sidewalk.
And later today.
According to your complaint, the defendant killed your bird.
Yes. The bird was flying around, and I swatted at the bird. When I made contact with it, apparently I must have hit it with such force that it killed the bird.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ellen Carnes claims ex-boyfriend Rudolfo Hernandez shoved her down on the sidewalk, knocking her out. She wants her medical bills paid.
Okay. Would you step up here? State your name, please.
Sandy Owen.
Miss Owen, let's go out to the parking lot. Let's cut to the chase.
Okay.
Tell me what you saw when as soon as you came out of the park to the parking lot.
Well, they were still disagreeing, and it wasn't going anywhere. And I asked Alan if she wanted me to leave her there, if she was fine, or if she wanted me to stay. And she said, no, I don't want to stay here. I want to stay with you. He got upset because he wanted her to stay and didn't think it was any of my business, but I informed.
Just tell me what he said.
Well, he told me it's none of your business. Get out of here, basically. I want you to leave. And I said, no, it is my business because she's my friend, and I'm.
You remember that conversation?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
And so basically, I said I wasn't leaving, and I think that aggravated him more because he felt that.
Don't tell me what he felt.
Okay.
That's what he said to you. He said, "This is none of your business.
Right.
Leave." All right. And then what did you hear or see?
Well, then basically we were walking away, and that's where it was going to end. And he was following, and she said no more. And before I knew it, she was flying. He didn't just tap her. I mean, she went flying. She ended up from the back of the car to the sidewalk.
Was he behind you?
He was behind us.
Okay. So how did it come that she was turned around and she fell backwards?
Because he was still talking to her, and that's when she told him, no more, just let's drop it, let's end it.
Did you see her put her hands on him?
I seen her hands out, you know, but like I said, it happened so fast. Before I knew it, she was flying. She was just over, you know, it was just, and my next concern was she needs medical attention.
Okay. Mr. Hernandez, when you say she put her hands up and grabbed you and grabbed your hands.
She didn't grab, she pushed.
She pushed your hands?
Yes, she did. Because I turned around, she came at me.
Now, how did she? Bird.
She turned around and pushed
Would you do this for me, please? Thank you. Just stand next to Mr. Hernandez. Now, Mr. Hernandez, I want you to make believe you are Miss Carnes.
Okay.
Bird is you. Show me exactly what you claim she did to you.
Okay. He was turned around to his side.
Turn to your
He was
side.
tied. She was standing about this far away.
Yes.
And then next thing I know, I was putting my hand.
No,
like
he's putting his hand. Bird is putting his hands in his pocket
in his
like
left
this.
Hand, no, your right hand.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, she came at me like this, and that's when he put up my arms.
No,
He
no, no.
turned
She
around.
came to you like that.
Yeah,
Show me what you did on Bird. You won't hurt him.
So he's turned around. I turned around right away. Okay.
Right.
And you put up your hands like you're protecting yourself. Took this thumb out like this and pushed it really hard.
Like she was pushing you away?
Yes.
No, just a second. Like she was pushing you away from her?
Yeah. No. We were just talking.
Like
I didn't
she
touch
was
her before.
pushing you? You mean she was pulling you towards her?
No, when she took that thumb, she
was
trying
pushing
to
you
push
away.
No, let's listen. She was pushing to defend herself because she couldn't come
That's
to an agreement.
right. You're
She couldn't
absolutely
agree with
right.
me.
You said
We
it
were
right.
talking.
She was pushing to defend herself. It cost
No,
her
not defend
$4,500. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll come back up to you right, please.
Thank you. Thank you. I told him from the start that I didn't want a relationship, and he was taking it farther than that. That's why I didn't want to see him anymore, and I guess he couldn't accept it.
We just didn't agree. Just had differences. That's all it was.
And now the next case.
All parties on Geary versus Brennan. Step forward, please.
34-year-old accounts receivable specialist Chris Geary claims 50-year-old therapy aide Kathy Brennan killed his parakeet at a party.
Mr. Geary, you were having a party at your house. The defendant was a guest at that party.
Yes.
You also had a bird.
Yes.
What kind of bird?
It was an Australian rare parakeet.
What made it rare?
It's not a normal parakeet. They're imported from Australia. It was hand-raised. I had the bird since it was eight weeks old, and I had the bird for over 11 years. It was trained.
Trained how?
It was trained to talk, whistled, danced, and it was a very people-friendly bird.
According to your complaint, the defendant killed your bird.
Yes.
Did you witness it?
No.
But you, Ms. Brennan, acknowledge that you made contact with this bird.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you tell me how that happened?
Well, the bird flies around at parties, apparently. And I've never been to other parties. Maybe one, I was one house party one time when the bird was flying around doing its entertaining and things.
What kind of entertaining was the bird doing?
Well, it danced, it sang, it whistled, it said profanities and things like that.
So it was a pretty rare bird.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I hope that what I think is in that urn is not in that urn.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Chris Geary claims Kathy Brennan killed his parakeet at a party.
Okay. So you'd been to one other party with the bird?
Yes.
What happened on this date?
I came to the party. The bird was flying around, and it hadn't landed on, it would land on people's shoulders. It didn't land on my shoulder at all, which annoyed me a little bit because I thought it would be kind of cool if the bird landed on my shoulder and said whatever it's supposed to say. I had been drinking. I wasn't like drunk or out of my mind drunk or anything, but the bird was flying around and it flew towards me a couple times, and I kind of waved it away. And Mr. Geary would, say, don't wave it away, leave it alone, Well, I got annoyed, and the bird flew. It looked like it was flying towards my face, so when I swatted at the bird, and I made contact with the bird, and did not have intentions of killing the bird, but when I made contact with it, apparently I must have hit it with such force that it killed the bird.
Excuse me, Judge Judy. You were asking about the first party she was at with the bird, not this one, right? Because she was at another party where this bird was, and this bird was on her shoulder and talking to her.
She just described to Mr. Gary. Just pay attention. She just described to me how she killed your bird.
Okay, but
That's
she
what
said
this
the bird
lawsuit
was
is
coming
about.
at her, and she swatted at it. She had the bird on her shoulder in the past.
Listen to me. She said she swatted at the bird, made contact with the bird, and killed the bird. That's what you just said.
Yes.
So why didn't you pay him? He's not asking for a lot of money, as a matter of fact, for a bird that can do all that kind of stuff. He's asking for $500.
A parakeet is a parakeet to me. I mean, it's like, you can go to a pet store and buy a parakeet for $25, $30. I just thought it was outrageous that he would want that much money for a parakeet. I feel bad that it took all that time to train this bird, and I'm not saying that I'm not sorry about killing the bird, but...
The question is the price.
The price, right.
All right, because, you had certain choices. Everyone in life is faced with certain choices. You were at a previous party at his house. You knew that the drill at this party was this very rarely trained bird went around entertaining people, and most people were excited with the entertainment, as were you, because you said at one point you were annoyed that the bird didn't land on your shoulder, so that you were aware of the fact that the bird flew around parties, and if it made you uncomfortable, your choice was not to attend another party.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And when you decided to attend that party and you walked in and you saw the bird flying around, you also had the option of leaving. Right?
Right.
You chose not to do that.
Right.
When the bird started to fly around and you shoot it away, you didn't cause any injury to the bird, but at that point you also had a choice, and your choice was to get up and go.
I was having fun. I was at a party.
I hope that what I think is in that urn is not in that urn.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Okay. The last line of your answer reads, I feel he should be partially responsible for this because he was allowing her to fly around at a party filled with intoxicated people.
Well, when you're at a party, that's what you do at parties. You drink, usually.
I like birds, as long as they don't land on me or fly in my face. That's what you say here.
Well, I like birds. It's not that like I hate birds. I just don't. I don't like them when they fly at me and I don't know.
Then you didn't have to go to the party. You had choices. Life is full of choices. You made choices, at least 3 that I just recounted. 1, you could have said, no, thank you, I don't want to go to your party because I've been there before and I don't like your bird. 2, I like the bird, but if the bird is out, I'm going to leave. 3, the bird is out and it's flying around and I'm uncomfortable, so I'm going to leave. Instead, you chose to swat the bird and kill it. You're responsible. You didn't mean to kill it.
But I didn't swat it to kill it. I didn't.
No, you swatted it
intentionally-
and you killed it. You're responsible. Miss Brennan, and what he's asking for is not a lot of money. I probably would have sued for more if it was my trained parakeet who could whistle and dance and talk, profanity or not. So I'm granting you your judgment, sir, in the amount of $500. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was not an accident.
I was upset. I felt bad. Mr. Geary was like out of control, very upset, so I just chose to leave the party.
I was in another room and I heard her scream and then start laughing hysterically, so I went in to see what was so funny. And she was on the floor laughing hysterically with the bird dead next to her, so that's how upset she was and felt bad.
He can hopefully just buy another bird and train that bird the way he trained this one, and we can get on here.
হ্যালো গাইস হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ কি অবস্থা সবার
আমি খেয়ালও করিনি
এখন আমরা কোথায় যাচ্ছি কোন দেশে যাচ্ছি কোন দেশেতে যাই আমরা তো এই হচ্ছে অবস্থা তোমরা সবাই লাইক এন্ড শেয়ারটা করে দিও আমরা ল্যান্ড করে ফেলেছি অলরেডি
ভাই টেনশন নেই মাসের নাম মিথ্যে আর মোরা যাবে এখন ভিতরে না ডাউন একটা বাইরে 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 মান মার ভিতর তো মার অপূর্ব ঢোক ভিতর ঢোক ঢোকা মার ফুল ড্যামেজ মুকুল ভাই অবি না চলো ডেড
এই বুলেট নাই আমার বুলেট নাই লল
আরে ফাইট লো
এসএমজি মো কোথায়
এনিমি কে পাশে আরে জনকে আচ্ছা তো কোন না ভাও দিবা ভাই এমবি ফোর্টি নাও তো দেখা ইসে এমবি ফোর্টি
পড়া এখান থেকে সরি
তোরা কি করবেন রে ভাই
হ্যাঁ মরে গেলে মরে যান সমস্যা নাই হ্যাঁ
এক সেকেন্ড
ফসফসি মারো দূরে যাও ওটা মারো ফুটায় যাবে দৌড় মারি না ওটা টিপ মারো দৌড় মারো ওটা টিপ মারো
না
দৌড় মারো ওটা
ডেড নামে ভাই
নামার আগেই খতম
ছোট না আরে কি করছিস
হোয়াইট ট্রিপল 4 ও ভাই রিয়েল হোয়াইট ট্রিপল 4 হ্যাকার
বলেন একটা সিএস খেলা
সিএসি স্টার্ট দাও, সিএসি খেলি।
গুড়িয়া না পারলে
कैसे जिया जाया सेठी गया
তুই মনে 10 টাকা নেই আমার অনেকগুলাই নাই
হ্যাঁ হ্যালো
ভাইয়া কেমন আছো?
তো ভালো, কি খবর?
এই তো আলহামদুলিল্লাহ। খেলবা নাকি?
হ্যাঁ খেলবো তো, দাও অ্যাড দাও, দেখা যাক কে কে আসে।
দাও প্লেয়ার আছে আনতেছি। প্লেয়ার নাই আর, আমি স্টার্ট দিই।
ওকে ঠিক আছে। আমার এখানে হচ্ছে 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 13। তো গাইস কেমন আছো তোমরা সবাই? একটু লাইক শেয়ার করো। আমরা নতুন একটা ম্যাচে চলে এসেছি, তো খেলা হবে।